Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, September 30th. We are on our last day of September. Tomorrow officially begins October. This is the last day of Q3 as well. So you might see a bunch of random things, quite frankly, happen in the stock market today. We saw yesterday with S&P 500 funds adding Robinhood and AppLovin that I think surprised a lot of us because I, for one, did not know that was going to happen yesterday. We've got quarterly rebalancing, which means you might see a bit of a sell-off today in terms of just different funds reallocating percentage portfolio allocations that are necessary for the different benchmarks that they put themselves up against in regards to different bunch of stocks. And you've got a looming government shutdown that we'll talk about more today that will be either official at 12 a.m. tonight, Wednesday morning, which is like near the end of Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, maybe at 11:59 we get a deal, or we're not going to get that government shutdown. And stocks, I think, are definitely going to react to whatever happens if we do get a shutdown or if we don't get a shutdown. So we got a lot of things going on in the broader markets, bunch of different headlines this morning already. I mean, like 5 different headlines right before I went live that are some pretty big headlines that we'll talk about. And I think they'll have some pretty large implications for a variety of different sectors. And then we'll see kind of how this market plays out. It's the last day of September. If we hold where we are right now in the S&P 500, which currently in the pre-markets, we do have a little bit of a red pre-markets right here, 663.17, that would give us a 3.5% return for the month of September, which would be quite incredible to see if we can actually close at those levels. The question is, are there going to be any shenanigans to end out the month of September like there usually are, to end out any month of the year in order to keep that going? And so we are going to find out as we get into it later today. But we got a lot of headlines and we got a lot to get into. So we will get into that. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. I think the first topic of the day we should get into, which is just the breaking news 2 minutes before I went live, is back to this AI demand story. Coreweave, $14.2 billion deal with Meta. As per Bloomberg, has not been confirmed by Coreweave or Meta yet, but the stock is definitely reacting as if it has been confirmed from this Bloomberg article, up 8% on the day. It is funny. A lot of people sold Coreweave over the past couple of weeks in this 120 range. And if they're bullish on Coreweave, they might have to buy it back at 130. I mean, the valuation on Coreweave is definitely subjective. You can argue, is it good? Is it overvalued? Is it too expensive? One thing I think that's hard to argue with is that the more we see these neo clouds, the Nebiuses, the Coreweaves, the Irens, the Clean Sparks, Bitfarms, all these different companies that are now transitioning into full-on neo clouds and data center companies, the more we're going to see demand start to come to these companies as these companies begin to form. 111 on Nebius, that's up 1.5% off this Coreweave deal. And then Coreweave right here up 8%. The Meta deal is very interesting because you would think Meta has the compute capacity to be able to just go directly to some of the hyperscalers or some of the manufacturers in and of themselves of the chips like AMD and Nvidia. And the fact that they need a third-party reseller of GPUs like a Coreweave is quite incredible. It's really quite incredible. And so Coreweave already has launched massive deals with other companies like OpenAI. And so the fact that they're now getting this Meta deal, $14.2 billion, it's not a small amount of money. And it looks like that's what's doing well for Coreweave. So we'll talk more about this whole AI infrastructure spend argument. I told you guys yesterday on the market close, I spoke to a friend who works at one of these big tech companies. And I just straight up asked them, I was like, dude, is this legit? Is this whole Coreweave, Nebius, Iren, like all these small companies that are popping up out of nowhere, is this something that people should take seriously, or are these just kind of flings of the moment in regards to data center spend? And he said, dude, I'm telling you at the bottom of my heart, even my company does not have the capacity to do what we need to do when it comes to AI. Like, it is so real. And he expects more and more of these deals to pop up over the next decade. If you believe in this long-term AI thesis, and if you do believe that this thesis will play out, there should be a market opportunity for the Coreweaves, for the Nebiuses, for the Irens, for all those other companies that are out there that are trying to tackle this demand. Either it's a massive bubble and all these companies are like the .com 2.0 special of telecom and communications, or AI is very real. You need a lot of compute capacity. And I think the more we see these deals, Nebius and Microsoft was a big one in terms of validating the entire industry. Coreweave and Meta is another one. Coreweave now up 9% on the day based on this deal being very real. So it is very exciting to kind of see how this is playing out. And it looks like it is not, at least so far in the data, slowing down from there. So that's what you got from Coreweave and Meta. If you own Coreweave, congratulations. Not too bad. Nice to see a 9% pop. It was at 150 before the earnings, took a little hit after the earnings. Not really because the earnings were bad. I think it's just because the stock ran up too much, and now it looks like it's starting to recover at those levels. Let's do a poll right here in the chat to red or green for the day. Do we end out September green or red? And then we'll get into some of the macro headlines that we've got, as we've got a lot of them that are playing out in the morning. Yeah, we got a ton of upgrades this morning. I think on the last day of the month, I mean, dude, there was like 7 different initiations of coverage by Mizuho on companies that we all know, like Uber and Amazon and Google. And I was like, how have they not initiated coverage on these companies before? But like, you're getting a ton of upgrades, or at least initiations of coverage towards the end of the month. And we're going to see how those stocks react to those initiations as well. All right, so there's the poll right there in the chat. Green or red? What do you think? 50-50 already. All right, 50-50. So we got some people that are a bit more skeptical of ending out September green or red, at least for today. Now, even if we end out red, unless we lose 3.5% on the S&P today, we're going to end out green for the whole month. But today in particular, could we inch out a little bit more green to end out September? We are going to find out over the next coming hours. All right, so let's get into... Well, let's tackle this topic first, because I mean, this one is on everyone's mind, and this one's really important. The government shutdown. Here is what Mr. J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, had to say yesterday about the government shutdown, and then we'll talk about some implications on if it actually happens or if it doesn't.
Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American healthcare policy is broken. Well, we know that American healthcare policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American healthcare is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American healthcare policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together, but let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do, and the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
So as you can see, Vance ends out his statement right there by saying, I think we are headed towards a shutdown. Now, the question is, are we actually going to get that shutdown? And by the way, yes, we do have JOLTS this morning. Thank you for that comment right there. We do have JOLTS this morning. It's going to be very important to look at JOLTS. Ironically, we're supposed to get non-farm payrolls on Friday, which is a very important labor metric. If the government shuts down tonight, we're not going to get those non-farm labor payroll metrics on Friday, which I don't know how the market's going to react to that, because like right now, the only reason we cut rates in this country is because of labor market. So we will get some JOLTS data today at around 10 a.m. and we'll see how many jobs are open in the country. But that might be the last piece of real data we get if the economy does shut down, or if the government does shut down. Yeah, 10 a.m. So in about an hour, we're going to get that JOLTS data. Coreweave, by the way, up 10% now, making some new highs, at least intraday in the pre-markets. Now, in terms of government shutdown, when's the last time we had a major government shutdown? It was, and a lot of you guys probably remember this if you were investing heavily in 2018. I was a junior in college, so I remember this, but I wasn't really investing that heavily. So it didn't impact me as much. But for people that were investing, you probably saw the impacts of this. From December 22nd, 2018 to January 25th, 2019, Trump's first term, you had a Republican White House, Senate, and House of Representatives. You had a 35-day shutdown. And the S&P 500 went up 6%. Now, that is a little misleading because people might think, oh, that means government shutdowns are technically good. The market doesn't care about it. Kind of. The problem was in Q4, you had an entire drawdown on the S&P. I think it was almost like 10 or 15%. It was pretty ugly. A lot of that caused by the trade war. So when the government was shut down and Jay Powell kind of signaled that he's likely going to be cutting rates, because remember, he was raising rates in 2018 towards the end of that year. And then going into 2019, the Fed kind of signaled, all right, they're going to get to a cutting cycle. That is why I think you saw the S&P kind of recover towards the end of the year going into January, not necessarily because the S&P likes if we get a shutdown. However, historically, I mean, this is what the precedent is. When you get a shutdown, the last 3 times, whether it was 2018, January 2018, or it was October 2013, the S&P 500 was actually green. So in 2013, it was up 3%. 2018, January was up 2%. And then 2018, December, it was up 6%. I'm not saying the S&P is going to get an average of a 3 or 4% move if the S&P 500 or if the government shuts down. But the past 3 times we've had any level of a major shutdown, last time being about 6 years ago, you did get a move higher on the S&P. Now, this entire year, the historical precedents have been so wonky. We did not get the August dip. We did not get the September dip. I would not be surprised if a government shutdown created the precedent to be able to get that dip that we've all been thinking is going to happen in October that is delayed from August to September. I mean, that would kind of just fit the storyline very well. But that also might not happen, which I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. So my thoughts on a government shutdown is that I think it's a nothing burger in the context of the market. Obviously, people not getting paid who work for the government is really not a good thing. Services, especially critical services that are needed to run this country, being shut down, not a good thing. None of the business leaders would be happy. A lot of businesses get paid by the government. They do business with the government. They wouldn't be able to do that business. That's not a good thing either. So from a human perspective, it is bad for a shutdown. And the Democrats and Republicans know this. And I think there is a good chance by 11:59, all the posturing goes away and they actually agree to some type of a deal. But if they don't, and you heard JD Vance, he was pretty adamant on the idea that I think we're going to get a shutdown, then the question is, how long does the shutdown last? Goldman Sachs came out this morning and they said, hey, we think it's going to last about 11 to 15 days. We are giving it a 70% chance, which is pretty aggressive. Kalshi also has a 77% chance that we're going to get a government shutdown and that it would last for a couple weeks. I think the way to play this as an investor is very simple. If you get a dip that's aggressive because the government is shut down, that is a self-inflicted wound that can obviously be fixed when we reopen the government. I think, as cliche as it sounds, it's a buy the dip. There is no reason to get scared if the government shuts down for equities because eventually the government will reopen. If equities don't dip and they kind of just keep nudging forward, then you kind of hold the stocks that you have steady. And I don't think you worry too much about the implications of the government shutdown. So to me, I really think this is a nothing burger for the broader market. I think it's a BTFD if you actually get, I mean, if we get Hood back to 100 again, we'll talk about Hood in a bit. If you get Palantir to 150, if you get SoFi to like 18, I mean, if you get these crazy numbers or something simply because of a shutdown, we all know eventually it's going to reverse. And if the earnings that are starting in Q3 that we'll talk about as well going into October are substantial the way they were in Q2, then the government shutdown just ends up becoming a really good reason to buy the dip because that is not an earnings-driven reason. That's not a labor market-driven reason. That's not an inflation-driven reason. That's not an AI-driven reason. It's just a idiosyncratic element of Democrats and Republicans not being able to work together. And that to me would be a dip to buy. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we're going to find out in basically 12 hours if we get this shutdown. And we'll see what happens from there. So those are my thoughts on the government shutdown. A couple of other headlines we got in the pre-market. First of all, Path, this bad boy is moving. It has been stuck for so long at $10. It is up 23%. They did 2 partnerships this morning. Number 1 is with Snowflake. They partnered with Snowflake on agentic automation. So that has been helping out Path. And then I believe they also got a Google partnership, which is also helping them. Nike earnings will be after the bell. We'll have Technical Tuesday after the bell, and we'll get into Nike earnings. So we'll see what happens there. And that will be after the close. Path also launched a voice AI automation, expanded their partnership with Google Gemini, letting businesses trigger workflows through real-time speech. The company also rolled out a ChatGPT connector with OpenAI, Nvidia integrations for regulated workflows, and a Snowflake partnership linking automation to data insights. For people that don't know what Path is, it's RPA, robotic processing automation. You would think AI is a tailwind for the whole industry of RPA because the entire concept of it is automating things, but it hasn't really been the game changer for Path's earnings or for the entire industry that works in RPA. But today, it looks like the string of announcements they put out is exciting enough for the market to put it up 25%. And that's why you're getting some momentum. I thought Path was dead. It has basically been a dead stock for a long time. Kathy owned a lot of it. I don't know if Kathy still owns this, as you can see right there in the chart. It peaked at 97 in 2021, came all the way down to 15, and then kind of just stayed stuck in a range from 15 to, or I would say from 10 to 14 for the past 2 years. And now you're finally getting a little bit of a breakout, almost at 16, up 23% in the pre-markets. So it's definitely been a long base. People that have been holding it for a long time have been likely waiting for a move like this. And now the question is this sustainable enough to keep it going into the future? But it is up 24% based on what we're seeing right now. So that's what you got in the context of Path. And that's one of these stocks that are moving right now. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about right here is oil prices. We have not honestly looked at oil prices on this channel for a long time. And I remember looking at it like every single day back when April was happening and the tariff drama was unfolding. I don't think we've looked at it for like 2 months, to be honest. I don't think we've looked at oil for a minute. I looked at it today and I couldn't believe what I saw. Oil is under 62 a barrel. It is under 62 a barrel as of this morning. And the reason it's down is because OPEC announced that they are likely going to increase production by 500,000 barrels per day for the next 3 months. So I know we've not kept up with oil as much. And, we haven't had a major reason to get super, super worried about what's going on with oil. But the fact that we're hitting 2025 lows on oil, this is the setup we have going into Q4. And someone tell me if this setup isn't bullish. You got lower rates in general, Federal Reserve lowering rates. Then you have lower oil prices, which is what we're seeing right now, which is lower input costs for every business. Airlines uniquely benefit from this, right? Because that is sort of their biggest cogs in terms of the price they have to pay to operate the jets. But every single business, whether you're a Meta and you have to operate data centers, whether you're an airline, whether you're a e-commerce company that has to ship products and you have shipping costs that takes oil to ship things across the world, all of that starts to come down, which means theoretically margins, even if it's like incremental, could go up going into Q4 or going into 2026. So you've got lower rates, you've got lower oil prices, which is better margins. Then you have Q3 earnings beginning in October in about 2 weeks. My expectation is it's going to be another blast out quarter. Last quarter, we had, again, 80% of companies beating by an average of 7%. I think that's going to continue. I see no evidence for why that wouldn't happen again in Q3. And then you have CapEx not slowing down. We just got this Coreweave Meta deal of $14 billion plus another, Nvidia $100 billion deal. We saw the Nebius $20 billion deal. If that's not slowing down, if Q3 earnings are going to be strong, if you have lower oil prices, which means higher margins and lower rates, I don't understand how we don't have a very strong Q4 with that setup as long as companies execute on their earnings. And also, quite frankly, that might lead to some of the lowest gas prices that we've seen in 2025. Right now, the national average, last time I checked a week ago, was $3.19. That's actually down from $3.30 a couple months ago. If that gets down below $3, which, oil below 62, I think that's definitely very possible. I think that would be very, very exciting. And so the question is just going to be if that ends up playing out. But, there's plenty of bear cases for Q4. Low oil is not one of those bear cases, and that really could help a lot of company earnings getting into Q4. Speaking of lower oil prices, take a look at this. We haven't looked at egg prices for a while on the channel. Fresh lows, $1.23 a dozen for eggs. Again, eggs were nearing about $8 back in January per dozen. It is now down to $1.23. The last time you had egg prices this low was December of 2023. So you got egg prices coming down. Yeah, and this is just, the raw data that we're looking at. We got oil prices coming down. I think it does set up the ability for Q4 to be very strong, and hopefully that allows us to necessarily have a, better market towards the end of the year as margins go up based on these prices coming down. So that's what you got in the context of oil prices and eggs as well. These are Trump's eggs now. I guess these are Trump's eggs right now. 275 in Florida. Yeah, the reason the national average is so high is because you go to places like California and Seattle, and those gas prices are so much higher. But I know in like Texas and Florida, you tend to get a little bit cheaper on the gas prices. Some other states, they're still pretty expensive. And so if that can come down across the entire world, that would not be the worst thing in the world. I think we got a quote real quick from Trump right before he heads on Air Force One about the shutdown. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. And Trump has been threatening, the firing of mass employees, which could happen in the government. And again, I think that's his negotiating tactic as well to not have this play out. But this is Trump live. Let's see what he's saying here.
Get to it. We used to think that was a lot of money.
We did, involving Meta. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but not anymore.
The shutdown, though, is the lead. This is what the president said a few moments ago about the impact the shutdown might have on federal jobs.
If there is a shutdown, how many federal workers do you plan to lay off?
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that.
So they're
okay, so I don't know if he's actually going to cut that many jobs. I also think he doesn't really want to be seen as the president that's firing tons and tons of people from the federal government. politically, I don't think that's going to help his political capital. I mean, if he wanted to do that, he would have done it right by now. So the fact that he's using that as a threat to the Democrats to not have a shutdown, basically he's trying to say, hey, if you lose your job in the federal government, you should blame the Democrats. I don't know if someone loses their job, they're going to blame the Democrats or they're going to blame the guy that fired them, aka Trump. So it's a little bit of a risky gamble that he's going with. And I don't exactly think he wants to do that. I think he's trying to use it as leverage to be able to not get a shutdown. So I guess we're going to see what ends up happening. We will find out. I mean, I'll be awake probably at 12 a.m. Eastern. So if you're awake, I'll be on Twitter and I will put out if the government has shut down or not. But we will know probably a little bit earlier than that, towards the end of the night. And we'll see if this actually ends up playing out. Path, yep, that's up 22%. Now, another company that's down right here, which I did not expect to get this news in the morning, Spotify down 3.7%. Daniel Ek is leaving Spotify. He is the founder and CEO of Spotify. He's now becoming executive chairman. He's not really leaving, but he's becoming the executive chairman. And you have two co-CEOs that will be becoming companies' CEOs in 2026. So did not expect to see that. I thought Daniel Ek would be the Spotify CEO forever, quite frankly, just given that, he's been, he founded this company and he has built this company literally from when it was nothing. I actually watched a couple documentaries on Spotify and it's quite incredible how they built the company. I don't think it's necessarily bearish for Spotify. Probably Daniel Ek just wants to focus more on the long-term trajectory of the company versus the day-to-day that a CEO has to operate on. I think the 3% dip is not really a dip either. I think it's just what happens whenever a founder leaves the company, but he's also not leaving. He's becoming the executive chairman. So yes, this is a Swedish company. It's one of the most successful tech companies out of Sweden in history. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you do have Spotify down about 3% from what we have going on now. Firefly Aerospace down 11% on news that the test rocket blew up. Yeah, this was after hours yesterday, I believe, as well. So this one has not had a great string of news over the past couple of months, to be honest. But this one did take a hit. Rocket Lab also did get a little bit of a boost. They signed another deal with Synspective to launch 21 more, to engage in 21 more launches. So you did have a little bit of a boost for Rocket Lab after hours, now kind of going flat in the pre-markets, but they did get a second deal yesterday for an extension of their launches, which is not too bad. Amit, are you worried about the exchange rate for Grab? We could see a 4% dip based on the currency. Not really. I mean, look, the one thing that's good for Grab and a lot of these other international stocks is that the dollar is lower, right? So as the dollar comes down, that's definitely not necessarily the worst thing for these international companies. I'm more so concerned about, can Grab raise guidance? And we'll talk more about Grab as we get closer to their earnings in terms of exactly the numbers I'm looking for, but they need to raise adjusted EBITDA closer to like 520 million. Right now they're at 480. I think that would really get the street excited. That would probably get the stock closer to that 750 level. I don't think the exchange rates is going to have that much of a meaningful impact. At this point, Grab is setting itself up to be a real growth stock. Like we're talking about 30, 45% growth going into 2026. They've got to give a preview of that in Q3. And if they can, I think the street's going to be very excited for what they can do in 2026. If they can't, then, maybe it's kind of stuck at these levels. And so that's what I think we have to watch out for going into Grab's Q3. Celsius right here, that's up 4%. I don't know if there's any news on Celsius, maybe a little bit of an upgrade. Don't think there's any headline, but that stock is up 4% in the pre-market. Oh, Morgan Stanley upgrades Celsius to 70 from 61. They say we see another leg up in Celsius stock driven by greater than expected reacceleration in scanner and top line growth ahead. Brand Celsius has returned to growth following last year's share slowdown, and we expect further improvement with much easier comps from December through early June. Okay, not bad. So Celsius acquired Alani Group and Rockstar a while ago, and that has continued to reaccelerate growth. They got a further investment from Pepsi. So that also helped with their distribution. And it looks like they got an upgrade this morning from Morgan Stanley. Again, this stock was at 99 back in May of 2024, fell all the way down to 18. If you take advantage of it, you've got a 3X on your hands, which is not too bad. That stock just under 60 in the pre-markets. Amit, do you think Hood can get to 150 by the end of the year? All right, so let's transition to Hoodie. Yesterday was obviously a crazy day for Robinhood. If you are a shareholder, congratulations. Did not expect to get a day like we got, but we did. We got some price target upgrades this morning. Goldman Sachs raises them to 152. Needham raises them to 145. Bank of America to 139. And KeyBank to $135. I was talking about this yesterday with Tanner and Roy. I have no idea what the price target should be now for Robinhood by the end of the year. I mean, I would have to really sit down with the numbers, and Tanner gave us a little bit of a preview of some of the September numbers that we got yesterday, which, by the way, weren't that bad. Equities were at 206 billion, options were at 187 million, and crypto was at about 20 billion. There's still 3 days left of September. So when you factor in those 3 days, you're probably going to get slightly higher numbers across the board on all of those metrics. And that will set up a very strong Q3. Estimates for revenue, probably around 1.2 billion. The street has them at a 1.15. So it would be a slight beat if they come in with that. I think the upgrades are because of two things. Number one, the market is starting to recognize the product velocity of Robinhood. And the reason they're starting to recognize that is because of the prediction markets. When Robinhood put up 4 billion contracts last month, or yesterday, they showed in Q3, they sold 2 billion prediction market contracts, 4 billion in total. I think this was a case study to the market around, hey, this is what they're going to do in banking. This is what they're going to do with lending. This is what they're going to do in every single vertical that they attack. And if they continue to execute at this level, like what they've done with prediction markets, not even 9 months and they're taking so much market share, then why shouldn't we give them an extra premium on the assumption that they're going to be able to do this for a variety of different verticals? So I think that at its core is why the street is upgrading the stock. And then also, I mean, the other reason it's getting upgraded is because it had a lot of price targets in the 115, 120 range. All those price targets have been breached. And so in general, analysts are going to have to raise their numbers. So not that crazy to kind of see this end up playing out, but it is very exciting for Robinhood to keep getting this momentum. And I think that it can continue. Are you still holding Misty? Yes. I'm counting on a little bit of a Bitcoin recovery, which maybe makes MicroStrategy get a bit of a recovery, which would help Misty, but I've not sold my 500 shares. Again, it's a very small position. It's just 500 shares. It was really an experiment to see how these yield max funds work. Fortunately, I picked Misty instead of like the Nvidia one or the Hood one or the Palantir one, and MicroStrategy has sucked. Now, granted, Bitcoin recovers. I think this one easily recovers, but we're going to have to see if Bitcoin can make a move to all-time highs by the end of the year, because that would be what would help MicroStrategy. But in terms of Hood, look, I'm bullish. I have not bought more. Last time I bought was at 124. I'm probably not buying more at these levels. At this point, I'm just sitting back, letting the story play out, and hopefully we do get some decent momentum. And if we do, then, off the top of my head, I don't think 150 is crazy towards the end of the year. We just have to see if they can really execute a strong Q4 and if Bitcoin, crypto, S&P 500. I mean, if the S&P is at 7,000 and Bitcoin's at like 130, 140, it's hard to say that Robinhood probably isn't higher from here. And the question is just going to be seeing if that ends up playing out by the end of the year. Now, here's an update on one of the stocks that a lot of us were confused about yesterday, Wolfspeed. A lot of us were wondering why the hell was this thing up 30, 40% yesterday. Apparently, they have come out of their Chapter 11 bankruptcy after cutting their debt by 70% and trimming their annual interest costs by about 60%. They say they now have enough liquidity to keep supplying customers with their silicon carbide chips used in EVs, solar inverters, and industrial power. And as a result of exiting Chapter 11 bankruptcy, that is why Wolfspeed, ticker symbol Wolf, WOLF, is now up another 35%. They also did a reverse split. They also did some dilution yesterday. But the fact that they're not going bankrupt, I guess, is another tailwind and why people are continuing to buy the stock. So there were some unfriendly things like dilution and a reverse stock split, which typically tend to send a stock going down. But if they're not going bankrupt, I mean, then I guess that ends up playing out. I guess they end up, being able to hold on to some of this momentum. So look, I would not touch this thing because I don't know enough about this company. I don't know enough about how legit it is that they're coming out of bankruptcy. It's $3.38 billion market cap. They are a big player, or I should say a player in the semiconductor space, and they were seen as a bigger player before they entered bankruptcy. Maybe there's enough demand for what they're doing via AI, data centers, et cetera, that they don't necessarily have to be stuck in the sort of rabbit hole that people thought they would be stuck in regards to bankruptcy. And maybe that's where there's an opportunity. But this thing, I think, gets easily dumped as much as it gets easily pumped if people don't think there's anything real to it. I think it's a lot of momentum driving the price action right here. But it's also, if you're not going bankrupt and you have some standing momentum, maybe that's enough for people to buy in. And that's why Wolfspeed is getting some momentum. Yeah, they were a bigger player before becoming bankrupt. I mean, it was a company that a lot of people talked about in the semiconductor space. It's just when they went and they went bankrupt twice. And so the fact that they came out of bankruptcy, it is quite impressive. I'll give them that. The question is it sustainable? And, over the coming months, I guess we're going to see if that ends up playing out. Nvidia at 182. Nvidia did get its largest upgrade on the day. Again, the Coreweave deal is also probably helping Nvidia because it's just showing how much more demand there is. Coreweave right there up 9.98%. KeyBank upgraded Nvidia to $250. And the basis of their upgrade is they expect more demand, more compute, and more ability for Nvidia to manufacture rack manufacturing or to improve their rack manufacturing yields, which would keep them ahead of AMD's MI400 chip. So they got an upgrade from 230 to 250. I think this is the highest rating on the street. The other one below it is 240 from Bank of America. So the fact that they have new price targets that are actually pretty bullish and giving it an all-time high price target, I also think is likely leading to some of the momentum right here on Nvidia. Now, Nvidia really did try to break through yesterday at 184. It touched it for a millisecond, was not able to break through. I think the setup going into Q3 is very, very strong, especially for earnings, even without the China revenue. So, I mean, do I think they break through? Yes, but on a day like today, where it's the last day of September, you get JOLTS data, which might not be the best. You have a looming government shutdown. All of that might lead to the entire market just not cooperating today. Nvidia is one of the only stocks that's green in the pre-market. Tesla, AMD, SoFi, Google, Grab, Reddit, Amazon, Meta, everything else is red. And so we're going to have to see when the market opens how investors think of that shutdown in relation to stocks. Now, SoFi right here down 1%. I thought SoFi was down from that Morgan Stanley note that came out yesterday. Tanner told me there was a different reason why SoFi was down, and it was because Upstart put out some report that there was a report that was put out about Upstart about their delinquencies being really bad, and credit ratings just not being as strong as it needs to be, and that's why all the companies that deal with underwriting took a major hit. SoFi's investor relations literally had to come out and put out a tweet saying, hey, as our CEO, Anthony Noto, said at the Goldman Sachs conference on September 8th, credit is also performing well. And so we've seen no change there, a reflection of our consistency in strong underwriting capabilities. Basically saying, hey, do not compare us to Upstart because we're a much better company at underwriting when it comes to credit. So I think if you believe SoFi and you believe there's going to be a massive Q3 and you believe rates are coming down, which would be great for refinancing and mortgage demand, then at the end of the day, this is probably a dip worth buying. If you don't think they deserve to be down back from that $30 range simply because of Upstart's credit delinquency reports. But nonetheless, it seems like that is the reason why it took a 1% hit. Do you think Hood will sell off today? I mean, it's only natural, right? Like it had a 14% move yesterday. Like it would be a little tough to be like, yeah, it's going to move another 3% today. And if it does, I mean, great. I'll be very happy. But if it doesn't, I wouldn't be that surprised. So I would love Hood to normalize at 130. It's at 135. If it has to give back $5, it is what it is. But I would really love a normalization of the stock in the 130s and for us to be done with the hundreds to 120s, which we were basically at for the past 3 months. So I would like that to be the scenario. Again, the reason it ran up yesterday, same thing with Apple 11, is because a lot of S&P 500 funds, I guess, towards the end of September, end of Q3, had to end up buying shares. And I didn't know that, bro. I felt like they kept it a secret from us. If I knew the S&P 500 funds were forced to buy 2 days before the end of the month, I would have bought a lot more Hood at 121 on Friday, even as a swing. But I didn't know that I thought September 22nd, which was the actual date of the rebalance, meant the rebalance happened. And we got a little bit of a pop that day. It was nothing like we saw yesterday. I mean, yesterday was like, I don't think we've had a day like that in like years for Hood. Even the S&P 500 day was like 7-8%. Yesterday was almost 14%. So it was one of those days where it was like, okay, I guess they didn't tell us, but if they did and you bought right before, there was a massive opportunity. So why didn't you tell us, bro? I wish I knew, dude. Because it was kind of weird on Friday. It fell from 130 to 121. I was like, this is kind of weird, breaking through all-time highs and then dropping all the way back down $9. Like, it didn't make any sense, but I was like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. And then yesterday, 121 to 123 to 127 to 128 to 130 to 132. I left the market open. Then it goes to 134, 135, 136, 137 after hours. I'm like, what is going on? And I guess it was S&P 500 buying more, which is what you got. So we're going to see what ends up happening today with Hood. But so far, hopefully maintaining the 130s is not too bad. Apple 11 right there, that's up 0.3%. TLT's up a little bit on the day. AMD is down at 160. The 10-year, I think, came down yesterday. Are we still down in the pre-markets? We are down 4.129%. Hopefully this one can continue to come down. That one's starting to show a little bit of weakness, which is good. Evercore initiated Coreweave with a $175 price target today. Pretty good timing as Coreweave signed this $14 billion deal with Meta. So not too bad. Their key takeaways was it's an AI-first infrastructure provider. They're accelerating revenue growth. There's upside buys from the OpenAI expansion with new cloud wins, potentially from Google and Nvidia. And AI infrastructure demand still outweighs supply, aided by a lower interest rate backdrop. Every equity report I've seen on Iren, Coreweave, Nebius, etc., the main argument by the analysts, which either they're going to be wrong in 5 years or they're going to be right about this, but I'm leaning towards they're going to be right just based on everything I'm seeing, is that demand outstrips supply. And if demand continues to outstrip supply, there is going to be a constraint. And that constraint is likely going to lead to more deals for these companies. Nebius, right there, 113 in the pre-markets. That's up 2.5%. And that should hopefully lead to more deals. So, Amit, are you going to buy a data center play? I am heavily thinking of it. I have not done enough due diligence on any of these companies to like legitimately allocate capital towards it. Obviously, I miss Nebius. The only real, quote unquote data center play I have is Nvidia. But no, I'm really thinking of it. I mean, I have 100 shares of IREN, but like seriously going into 2026, yeah, like I want to start doing a lot of research on these names because, I mean, the best names should just get more deals. And like, even if it's a 2 to 3 year play, I just think fading some of these companies that are beginning to maintain their momentum and get more and more deals, it's just kind of stupid if you see what's happening, right? And not stupid in the respect that you have to invest in them, but just like if the evidence is right there in front of us and we know this demand outstrips the supply, then there should be more of these deals. And the easiest way to play it, quite frankly, is just to buy more Nvidia because Nvidia is the one selling the GPUs to all these guys. That is the safest way to go about it, or an AMD or a Broadcom, right? All of them are going to benefit, but there might be more alpha in some of the smaller names, like a Nebius, like an IREN, etc. And that's what I want to do some more. Yeah, Galaxy. We're going to have the Galaxy CEO on, I think, on Thursday, Mike Novogratz. So we'll get to talk to him. I don't have a position in Galaxy, but that's another one, that is transitioning more into a data center play as well. So I definitely think there is an opportunity there. Triple V, thank you for the $200 super chat. Yesterday had to be a fun day for Mr. Triple V. He has about 4.5 million shares of Hood. Hood was up $14. So that means he was up $63 million yesterday. Not too bad. Not too bad in a day's work. So shout out to Triple V. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Thank you for being here. And congratulations on a pretty awesome day, dude. It was a wild day. Oh, by the way, there was no insider selling yesterday. I thought the insiders would sell into all that strength because if you've got all of this forced liquidity, then I thought there would be some decent insider selling. And you really didn't see that much of it. So the insiders sold a couple weeks ago. I think maybe there was like a couple thousand shares sold yesterday, but not like 400, 500,000 shares. Yeah, I'm looking at one document. There's like 3,000 shares. And those prices were at 124, 125. No, this was 922. I'm looking at this is 9. So this was the CTO on September 22nd. I thought yesterday they would unload like a decent amount of shares because you're forcing the funds to buy it, right? So like they have to buy it from you. They have to buy it from somebody. But yeah, no insider selling, which was quite incredible. So not too bad. And I think that also helped Robinhood continue to maintain momentum because there wasn't that much forced selling. There was just a lot of buying that was happening yesterday. So there you go. All right. So some of the other headlines, we got 5 minutes until the market opens. Let's see what else we've got going on. Again, this government shutdown is going to be big news. Oh, real quick on this, going back to this data center play, Citigroup increased their AI infrastructure spending target to 2.8 trillion, up from 2.3 trillion. So their argument is through 2029, it's going to increase another 500 billion. And they think in 2026, their previous target was 420 billion. Now their target is 490 billion. This is very similar to what Zuckerberg and Jensen said a couple weeks ago. Jensen on that latest podcast and Zuckerberg on that podcast 3 weeks ago about where CapEx is growing. It's about a 21% increase from 2025. And that would be about 500 billion of spend in 2026 versus consensus estimates of around 420 to 430 billion. Which means, again, more demand for the hyperscalers, which is not a horrible thing. Canaccord, they raised their price target today on Tesla, 490 up from 333. This is the 5th bank on Wall Street to raise their price target aggressively. We had UBS go to 475 a couple days ago. The reason I think this is interesting is because on Thursday, we're going to get a deal, or not a deal. We're going to get the number of deliveries that Tesla announced, or that Tesla did in Q3, along with the energy they deployed. And consensus analysts are saying 447,000. You've got some that are saying 470. You got some saying 430. You got others saying 500. If Tesla comes out and just crushes those delivery numbers, which I think there is a good shot they can, given the incentive that people have because of the EV tax credit going down, maybe that is going to be something that further leads to more momentum for Tesla. But you're starting to see more and more price targets that are going higher for Tesla. And in Thursday, we'll know kind of how that plays out. Speaking of Tesla and Elon, Elon tweeted today that we are building Grokpedia. Grokpedia. It will be a massive improvement over Wikipedia. Frankly, it is a necessary step towards the XAI goal of understanding the universe. So Elon is saying, hey, we are going to build an alternative to Wikipedia called Grokpedia. The argument around this is because he said Wikipedia is very biased. And so we're going to see what Grokpedia looks like. But I guess there's an AI version of Wikipedia that Elon is looking to try to build. A couple other charts, and then we got the market open. Number one, electricity load growth is up 1.7% annually from 2020 to 2026. It was flat from 2005 to 2020. The takeaway on this chart is simply to realize that electricity demand is only going up. And because it's only going up, there's going to need to be energy players that are necessary to deal with that electricity demand. By the way, Oklo was downgraded by JP Morgan today. They simply said, we can't understand the valuation on it. They downgraded to $34. The stock's at 117. So, you know, their price targets are definitely way lower than where Oklo is. But if you believe in the whole energy thesis and nuclear being a key player in the energy thesis, then maybe that ends up playing out. Next chart right here, Japanese stocks. This is from BlackRock. As you can see right here on the screen, foreign investors now make up 32.4% of Japanese stocks. This is the highest it's been since 1990. So you're seeing a massive increase in the context of more and more people that are saying, hey, I want to allocate to Japanese stocks. So I showed you guys the chart yesterday of foreign investors in US stocks. So you got a lot of people coming into the United States economy as well. But the Nikkei is at all-time highs in 2026 or 2025 right now. And hopefully that continues in 2026. But that is also leading to more momentum and excitement around Japan. Japan's kept their rates steady. So also that's not been like the worst thing when you think of the broader markets. Yes, Trump is live. He's speaking at a military convention right now. So he's likely not talking about business or taking questions or anything like that, but he is speaking to military leaders. And we'll see if we can get any quotes from him after that speech. Final chart right here, S&P 500 weekly forward profit margins are at record high levels. I think this is only going to continue as oil prices made a new low for 2025. This is the other reason why I'm very bullish for Q3. It looks like earnings growth is not slowing down. And if profit margins are at record high levels, as you can see, they're the highest they've been since about 2022, definitely higher than where they were back in 2015. You're likely going to see more momentum on these Q3 earnings. And if that momentum doesn't stop, then hopefully we get to see more and more earnings growth, which benefits all of us as investors in the broader market. So there you go. All right, let's see. We got 15 seconds. Hopefully the bell doesn't fade out. I know over the past couple of days, the bell has been muted by the microphone. Some of you guys enjoy that. Some of you guys hate that, but we're going to see today if that ends up playing out again. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, September 30th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, no Temu Bell, baby. No Temu Bell. Here we go. Markets are open. Hoodie opens up at 136. It was Temu. It was, see, you know, I think StreamYard is having sympathy for so many of you that have been so annoyed at the bell. So you've got a couple of days of, remember this happened last year for like a month. It wouldn't get fixed. I probably got to reboot my computer or something. I don't know what I did to fix it last time, but we got to do something to fix it. But for those that hate the bell, you've been being blessed by StreamYard. All right, Robinhood opens up at 136.43. That's down about 0.2% on the day. Nope, just went green, 136.75. So that opens up green. Nvidia opens up green, 182.56. Not too bad, up 0.34%. Palantir opens up green as well. Wow, Palantir getting a little bit of a move. Again, they got that $410 million contract from the State Department yesterday, 180.28. Palantir goes green. Grab goes down, 604, down about 1.2%. We got a 593 hit on Grab yesterday, then it rebounded to 612. So we'll see if that gets below that $6 range back to the 590s again. Google right here, 242. Google losing to 250s. That's down about 0.62%. SoFi, that's down 0.5%. AMD, 160, that's down 0.5%. The S&P opens up red. That is also down. Robinhood back to 136.60. Meta's red. Amazon's red. Reddit is red. Salesforce is red. PayPal, which had a 5% day yesterday, was kind of trying to really break through the 70s. Could not close above 70. Now it's 69.71, just below that $70 range. Ethereum, that is slightly down. BMNR got to 54 yesterday. BMNR is at 51.80. That's down about 3%. So you got Bitmine taking a little bit of a hit. Again, that government shutdown could make all stocks potentially just stagnate today. until they get some clarity on what's going on. Oscar trying to go for 20, 1952. So you got a little bit of a boost right there on Oscar of about 2.4%. Again, UiPath, they partnered with Google and Snowflake this morning. That's why that stock is up 16%. Quite frankly, it wasn't earnings growth. I don't know why the stock was up 16% because of those partnerships. I mean, like, yes, it's very bullish to partner with Google and Snowflake, but like, is it enough to be up 15%? I don't know. So I don't know what investors were really thinking about giving it that much momentum, but we're going to see if that is sustainable. But it wasn't any massive earnings growth that kind of got UiPath to get this momentum. Coinbase right here, that's down about 1%. CrowdStrike, that's down a little bit. Coreweave, 12% on the Meta $14 billion deal. That is why Coreweave is green and hopefully can hold on to that momentum. 137.44. That is green for the day. Palantir right there, 179.93. Tesla's at 440. And then Nvidia, that's at 182. Robinhood, wow, back to 137. Back to 137 on Hoodie. You're getting a little bit of move right there, up about 0.35%. Galaxy's up 2% as well. And then Nebius is getting a little bit of love. I think Robinhood Legends glitching a little bit. We're not getting these charts to pop up. Can we get these charts? Okay, we're not getting, it's not my Wi-Fi. All right, we got to transition to Webull. If it's not pulling up, we'll see if it comes back in a second. Corey now up 14%. My goodness, that one's not slowing down either. Yes, there are new $200 strikes on Hood. That has been open today. I saw it in the morning. So you're starting to see a lot more options activity come out as well. Dude, Robinhood Legend must be, usually it does it when it gets too much traffic. When Legend gets a ton of traffic, and Hood right there, oh my goodness, is trying to break 138. I would love to see it break 138 on Legend, but these charts are not loading. Yeah, they're still not loading. It's definitely not my Wi-Fi. Let me know if anyone else is having some issues with it, but the charts are not loading. Robinhood right there. Wow, 138. Oh my goodness, that busted through. I guess we're going to see if that can hold 138.28 on a Hoodie. I mean, does she want 140? She's not that far away. She's not that far away. Maybe she gets there. Figma, that's up 1.5%. Carnival Cruise, that's up 1.7%. Meta, that's down 1.6%. Oracle, 282, that's down a bit. Palantir again, 179. Grab back to 610. Open Door, down another 5%. It was 5% yesterday, down now 5% today. Actually, it was like 7% yesterday. So that one falling back to the 780s. Rates coming down and the housing market going up, as we saw in the data over the past couple of days, has still not been enough of a catalyst to get this stock back to all-time highs or back to 52-week highs at 1082. So that one's still down, and we're going to see if that continues some of its downtrend. Nvidia just went red. Lockheed Martin's up a little bit. Micron's up a little bit. Lithium Americas, that company that was at 740 after Reuters reported that Trump was thinking of taking a 10% stake in them, that's now back down to 550. It's up from $3, but it's still back down. So if you bought at that 720, 730 level, you're definitely bag holding a little bit until maybe a deal is announced, but that one taking a hit. Nebius, that's up 13%. Wow, Hoodie 138.80. Are we about to go for it? Are we about to go for 139? I mean, goodness gracious, bro. Legend, okay, the charts are back. The charts, are they back? 139. No, the chart's not back yet. 139. Dude, it's at 139.50. It's not even stopping at 139 for a second. My goodness. This is kind of wild. I'm like, I didn't expect this. I don't know if it's more S&P funds or if it's just retail coming in or just institutional investors coming in. 140 has 20,000 shares. It is 2 cents away from 140. Oh my goodness. 140. 140. $140. There you go. 140 on the day. There it is. All right, the Legend charts are back. Wow, I did not expect that. I did not expect that. Ladies and gentlemen, 140. There she is on Robinhood. This is quite incredible. S&P's down, by the way, while Hood's doing this. Bitcoin and Ethereum are down while Hood is breaking through 140. 140.40. Who is buying this? What is going on? This has got to be institutional, right? Like after a day like yesterday, or this is just a bunch. Is it halted? There's no way it's halted. No, Legend's just being weird. It's at 140.80, dude. Legend, I guess Legend's getting too much traffic. Legend's being weird. We got to go back to Webull. 140.80. It's 20 cents away from 141. Bruh. This is like, this was not on my bingo card, especially with the broader market being down. Palantir at 179, Tesla 438. Tesla's losing a lot of momentum. Grab waking up a little bit, 614 on Grab. S&P still down. Robinhood 140.89. Wow, we hit 141. 141.18. Coreweave, by the way, 140 as well, up 15%. Oh my goodness. Oh my. And Legend's still not fully factoring that in. I guess Legend's just getting too much traffic today. That's why it's crashing. Bro, 141.33 on Hood. That's up 3%. All right, we're in the 140s. I mean, we got to go down $2 to see if it goes back below 140, but we are in the 140s. Google 240, that's down. Palantir's up a little bit. Tesla is now furthering down, 437. Opendoor down 5%. Intel at 33.28, that's up 3.5, or that's down 3%. S&P still down 0.8. Nvidia 182, that's also waking up along with Hoodie. Micron, that's up a little bit. Nebius 114.75. Nebius is about to break all-time highs. I think Nebius did break all-time highs. 115.69 on the day where Coreweave got this momentum. Nebius is also feeding off that momentum. 140.60 on Robinhood. SoFi, where is SoFi? Let's see. SoFi 26.99. SoFi still down 2%. SoFi still down 2%. All right. I guess we got to ring the bell for Robinhood. 141, baby. Don't know if the bell got a Temu bell right there, but my goodness, I did not expect a surge at 141. Already looking for 142. Firefly, that's down 28 because of their failed rocket test. So that one's getting hit. Your noise gate cuts it out. Actually, I think I know why it's doing that. I think I know why. Okay, the next time we ring the bell, I think it'll be fixed. I think there's a setting button that I pressed yesterday. Okay, I think next time we ring the bell, we'll see if that continues to last. Yeah, I think that might actually end up fixing it. So we'll see if that ends up working out. Robinhood right there, 141.30. Bitmine, that's down 2.5%. Figma's down a little bit, or Figma's up a little bit. Coreweave, that's up 12.3. SoFi still going down, and then Meta, 730, bro. Meta hasn't seen 730 since when? Meta hasn't seen 730 since August. Last time it got there was around early August, late July. It's been a minute since we've seen that, so it's been a while for Meta. Now the volume's low. What? Hold on. Are we better? We better? Yes, no. Yes, no. Dude, why is this freaking being stupid today? It's better now? It's better. Okay, good. Dude, Robinhood's freaking stock moving in this direction and the bell going up and down is messing up a ton of stuff with the audio today, but we should be better. I guess the button I pressed when I thought it would fix the bell ended up hurting the mic, so we'll figure that out later. But 141.80, it's going for 142. It's going for 142. 10 cents away. 10 cents away to get there. My goodness. Legend seems to be back. Okay, Legend's back to normal. S&P trying to go green. Nvidia up 0.23%. Palantir 0.67. By the way, we get JOLTS in 20 minutes. Those JOLTS could be either really bad or really good. So we're going to see what happens there. The street is expecting on JOLTS 7.18 million jobs, and we get PMI in 4 minutes. And we'll see what happens there. We got to 141.98, folks. 141.98 on Hoodie. 142 resistance, I'm looking at it right here, is 5,800 shares. 5,800 shares. Yeah, rest in peace to the 140 covered calls. My goodness, dude. Look, I said this yesterday. My advice would be, hey, if you really do want to keep the shares and the stock is starting to really move, it's time to roll those calls out. And if you think Hood's going to have a really good Q4, if S&P gets to 7,000, if Bitcoin, Ethereum start doing well, and Hood potentially is at 150 end of year, you got to roll it out a year. You got to bite the bullet, give yourself like 180, 190 price targets, and just let the stock breathe. And you can always roll those down if Robinhood goes down, but If not, you'd rather get out of the way and roll it and give yourself some time, right? The more important thing is keeping the shares and the share appreciation versus going for the premium. 142.18. 142.18 has been hit on hoodie. I did not expect this morning. I thought we were going to chill out yesterday. Today, I think that was the last thing I said before we went, before we opened the market. I was like, yeah, it's probably, probably chills out at 135, 136. If we can hold 130, I'd be happy. It looks like it potentially might be trying to normalize the 140s. 140, 150. We hit 142.18 on the day. This is quite incredible. Are we short squeezing? Well, there's not a massive short float on this stock, so I don't think. I don't. It's like less than 8%. I don't think that's the reason. It's got to be something else. SoFi right here still down. Google's down about 1.4. Dell's up a little bit. Verizon's up a little bit. Lily's up a little bit. Coreweave's still up 14%. Again, if you've got Coreweave today, big deal with Meta. Nebius made a new high at 115.69, back to 114.74. That's not slowing down. How about Iren? That is down about 0.5% on the day. Oklo got a big downgrade from JP Morgan. That's now down about 2.8%. Bitfarms, that stock is down about 0.5%. CleanSpark, which was up 15% yesterday, that stock's down about 2.7%. Rocket Lab, that is up 0.5% after the deal they got yesterday with Synspective, and ASTS, that one's down about 1.84%. And Palantir is moving as well. Palantir not slowing down, 179.99. Trying to get back to 180s. Big Bear, is that pumping? Google again at 240. Big Bear was down 7% yesterday. Big Bear is up 2% today. This one's kind of been stuck around that 550, 650 level over the past couple of weeks with a breakout to, I think, around 740. Yeah, guys, I don't know what to say about Hood. I mean, I don't know if this is retail FOMOing in, if this is institutions continuing to having to buy, if these are other institutions saying, hey, like, we can't ignore this. This is having a little bit of a Palantir moment here. I mean, Palantir went from 7 to 180. Hood went from 7 and now to 140. I mean, and the multiple on Palantir got pretty aggressive. And I'm on record many times saying, hey, the multiple is aggressive on Palantir. Back to 142. I've never really said the multiple's that aggressive on Hood. I mean, like, is it expensive? Yeah, but I've never said it's like super aggressive where Palantir. Like, if Hood had Palantir's multiple, it would be a $450 stock. That's how aggressive Palantir's multiple is compared to Robinhood. But Robinhood looks like it wants to get that type of a multiple. It looks like it wants to get that type of a multiple. Wow, Nebius 117. Congratulations to everyone in Nebius. My goodness, that's up 6%. 117 on Nebius. That has to be because of the Coreweave deal. And the market's thinking that Nebius is probably going to get some benefit from that. Coreweave 140, that's up 15% on the day. Market cap of Coreweave now 70 billion. Nebius, I think it's past 30 billion. Nebius is 29.2 billion. And then Hoodie looks like it wants 143. It got to 142.48 on the day. Yeah, dude, I love Steve. I love Steve so much. I have not given Steve shit about this yet. We need to give Steve shit about this together. I love him so much. He's one of my dear friends. His YouTube channel now has 2,000 subscribers. He hasn't posted a video, so it goes to show how much you guys love him as well and how much you support him and, you know, how much he's been a friend of the channel. But this was just not good timing, bro. This was just not good timing. Yesterday morning, Robinhood up 220% year to date. A retracement is likely before the next breakout. Even my uncle from Singapore texted me today. He's like, isn't this guy your friend? Why is he downgrading your favorite stock? I'm like, well, because he's objective. He was just objectively wrong yesterday with that downgrade. It was just not the right time to do it. But we love Steve. We love Steve. 142 still on Hoodie. Exxon, I got a headline right here, is cutting 2,000 workers as oil sector job losses mount. That is consistent with some of the data we saw this morning around oil prices. WTI crude just above 62.52 right here. So you got Exxon with some layoffs, oil prices at their lowest of 2025. We'll see if that continues to potentially implicate the broader oil sector. But again, oil prices going down is so freaking bullish for Q3 and Q4 and really end of year momentum, because input costs are going to go down across the board. Now, oil shouldn't get that low. It shouldn't get to, like, you know, below 45, below 55 or something. Like, we probably want to hold up at least in that 55 to 60 level. But yeah, that helps with deflation as well. There's so many different impacts that it helps with. And the question is just going to be how companies benefit from those earnings or from the margin enhancement on the earnings based on oil prices coming down. But that is very, very bullish to see and a nice thing going into the end of Q3. Nvidia 183.20. Nvidia trying to break 184. It would be very nice to see this. So Grab is up, Nvidia's up, Palantir's up, and Hood is up. Everything else is down. Elf is up a little bit. SMCI is up a little bit. Circle's up a little bit. Palo Alto's up a little bit. All the big tech stocks are down. Uber, Roblox, QQQ, CrowdStrike, MicroStrategy's down. Amazon, Meta, Google, they're down. Coreweave's up. So the neo clouds, Coreweave and Nebius are up as well. But you've definitely got a bit of a selective market in terms of price action today. And a lot of it doesn't make that much sense. But I think on a day like this, when it's the last day of the quarter, you have rebalancing, potential shutdown, all that stuff. That's probably why it's not going to make that much sense. SoFi right here, still getting hit 2.8%, 26.78. These are back-to-back 3% down days on a company like SoFi. Marvell, are we getting a move on Marvell? Marvell is up 2%. Wow, Marvell was at 60 after earnings, 60 to 83. Not bad. Nice little recovery on Marvell. So getting some momentum. JTB, thank you for the $100 super chat. I just broke $1 million. Congratulations, man. I owe it to you for cultivating the community and the crew 3 years ago. I had 57,000 invested. Please buy them a drink for me. Dude, that is incredible. 57,000 to $1 million. You have 20x your money in 3 years. I mean, that's incredible, dude. That is absolutely incredible. First of all, thank you for the super chat, but also thank you for being here every single day. Thank you for being part of the community. Again, it really is a community effort. I got a lot of messages yesterday from some people that are OGs in the Hood community. They're like, yo, thank you for all the DD you were doing back then in early 2024. I'm like, dude, you were helping me out with a lot of this DD as well. It wasn't just me tweeting all this stuff. I was getting a lot of DMs from people that were like looking underneath Robinhood's code to figure out what the gold event was going to be about. They saw the word credit card. They were like, hey, admit it's a credit card. I'm like, it's a credit card. And all this stuff was really a community effort. I just happened to have a platform that could accentuate the message to the masses. But a lot of this work was not done just by one person, and that's why it feels so special. That's why it feels so special. So congratulations, Robinhood right here, 141.30, holding on to the 140s, has not given that back yet. We'll see if it can make a run for 143. Salesforce, that's down about 1% of the day. PayPal, that's down 1.7. Apple, 255, that's up a little bit. AppLovin, that's taking a breather. So AppLovin going the opposite of Hood. Both of them got S&P 500 inflows yesterday. AppLovin going down. Hood continuing to go higher. Hood continuing to go higher, which is not slowing down. Yeah, shout out to Benny. He was one of the people who sent me so many pieces of due diligence on Hood when the thing was like 10, 15 bucks. Just like even DM me every day with something. Because at that time, like literally every day, Hood was putting out something as the stock was in the early innings of beginning to re-rate. And there's just so many more people, right? Brittany, Eddie, Austin. Austin, he didn't really see the Hood thesis in the beginning, and then he started to come around to it, and he was like, bro, this is a no-brainer. Like, these guys are executing at a crazy level. Same thing with Tanner, Roy, right? Like, all these people that were part of this community really made it happen, which is why it's very exciting. Amazon right here, down about 1.3. Reddit right there, down about 5%. Reddit high beta getting hit. PMI, do we have PMI yet? We got PMI 40.6 versus 41.5. 40.6 versus 41.5. So that's down a bit. Chicago PMI is not the biggest thing the market cares about, but you do have a little bit of a downside. Or actually the street wanted 43. 41.5 was last month. So that is down from 41.5 month over month, down from expectations. That theoretically could definitely get the S&P 500 to take a hit. Seeing Robinhood to get a little bit of a red candle right there. Would not be surprised if that PMI data is factored in as a little bearish, especially going in to the end of the quarter. S&P down about $1 right here. Not making that big of a difference, though. Yes, JOLTS data in 9 minutes. That's what we're really looking for. JOLTS data in 9 minutes. Spotify, that's down 3%. The CEO of Spotify is stepping down. So that's going to be really important about how the market perceives the new role that he has as the executive chairman. Yeah, Reddit down $14 is a little weird. Not sure why Reddit's down that much. Doesn't look like there's a headline, but that one's taking a hit. And then Nvidia 0.61. Robinhood, all right, 27 cents away from breaking 140. We got to see if it can hold it. We got to 142. Now the question is, can you actually hold on these levels? Uber right here, that's down 1.7%. Coinbase, that's 334. Coreweave, that's up 13%, 138. That's not slowing down. Archer, that's down 3. And then GameStop, that is down as well. Hims, is that taking a hit? 57.74. Hims is down 2.4% as well. So a bunch of different high beta names are getting hit. Again, for everyone wondering why SoFi is down, my understanding based on what Tanner told me yesterday is that Upstart's credit delinquency reports are being compared as a reason for all the lenders to take a hit. Lending Club, is that taking a hit? Yeah, I mean, it's not a SoFi thing, guys. It's not a SoFi thing. Lending Club is down. Is Lending Tree down? Lending Tree is basically flat. Upstart, is that continuing going down? I don't think it's SoFi specific at all. Upstart is down 2%. That just seems like the broader market selling off the lenders. Which, like, look, it happens. I don't think it's anything structurally bad for SoFi. It's annoying, yes, but I don't think that's like a massive bear case for SoFi. But it is down about 4% right here. Amazon selling off. Again, I think Amazon's going to be flat until we get earnings. Amazon was at 222 yesterday in the pre-market. So like this thing going back and forth between 215 and 220, I think is just inevitable until it gets a catalyst. Amazon does have an event tomorrow. Google has a Gemini AI event today. Amazon has an event tomorrow about their Kindle and Alexa products. So that could be potentially a tailwind and a catalyst, but we're going to have to see what ends up happening there. PayPal back to 68, down about 1.64% right now. 10 a.m. Eastern is the Google event. Okay. I don't think Sundar is going to be at this event. I don't think it's like that big of an event. But it is an event that we are going to see what Google ends up showing off today. JOLTS we get in 6 minutes. Let's see what we get in JOLTS in 6 minutes. Again, Street's looking for about 7.18 million jobs. If we come in lower than that, that means the labor market's weak. If the labor market's weak, we're likely on the way to get more rate cuts. If it's too weak, that's not good for the economy. So there's a little bit of a nuance of how much rates or how much the labor market needs to decline by. Etsy right here, that one partnered with OpenAI yesterday. Why is Etsy down 7%? They had a great partnership with OpenAI yesterday. Shopify is up. Shopify and Etsy both had that partnership. Robinhood loses 140. All right, so JOLTS data could have an impact on the entire market. Now, this is a really good test for Robinhood. Can it break through and recapture 140? Is this just the natural sell-off you get after you get a massive new all-time high and the buyers step in? Or, you know, where people saying, all right, I'm taking my profits right here. We're going to see Eric Trump said buy the dip. That is correct. He did say buy the dip. BMNR under 51. That is to be expected as Ethereum continues to take a hit. So that's not too surprising to me. BKKT backed, again, another crypto company. That one continuing to get momentum. That's up another 14%. It was up 15% yesterday. Looks like some of these crypto plays are getting some green. Coinbase right here, 334. Eli Lilly. The pharma tariff stuff has not been really that factored in. I think we have a headline on those tariffs, by the way, from the Washington Post. Trump to announce drug pricing deal with Pfizer. Pfizer to sell drugs through Medicaid at lower prices as per the Washington Post. Okay, so Pfizer stock looks like Pfizer will be the company that collaborates with Trump to initiate the new pricing of these Medicare drugs. Pfizer right there up 3%. Pfizer doesn't move 3% in a day, so that's actually a pretty big move for Pfizer. This one's basically trading at 2011 lows with a 7% divvy. That one's up 3%. SEC is moving to allow stocks to trade like cryptocurrencies. Main reason why HOOD is pumping due to trading on a blockchain. I think I saw that headline this morning. Robinhood right back to 140. Wow. Barely gave up 140. That could be, yes, that could be a headline. I didn't think much of it when I saw it in the morning, but the SEC is reviewing proposals to bring stock trading onto blockchain platforms. So the thing about this headline, and the reason I didn't think much of it is, to me, that's just tokenization. And that I'm pretty sure that's priced into HOOD. I mean, the market knows that HOOD is engaging in tokenization. Now, I guess the new update is that the SEC is making tokenization more legit in the United States, which is a major market, obviously, for Robinhood. And that's bullish. But in the United States, you can also trade through a brokerage. Like the necessity to trade stocks on blockchains isn't that relevant because people have good access to brokerages. Whereas in other countries across the world where brokerages infrastructure is not that good, that's where the blockchain stuff comes in. So that's definitely potentially a reason why it's moving. But it seems like it's another validation of tokenization, which is why it's creating that momentum. Wow, Weeble's running as well. Maybe that's affecting all the brokerages. Weeble got to 16 today. This thing was stuck at 12 for a while. We got JOLTS data in 3 minutes. So looking like maybe that news is helping Weeble. And that's creating some more momentum. SoFi still down. Also, okay, here's another update on American Exceptional Corporation. This is Chamath's new SPAC. So Chamath put out an article yesterday, and the highlights from that article are as follows. A SPAC has been successfully priced without warrants, with the sponsor's compensation entirely tied to stock price appreciation. So basically, Chamath's saying, I'm not going to get paid unless the stock goes up. Number two, it was 5x oversubscribed with 1.4 billion in demand, which means there are lots of people that are ready to buy whatever company Chamath's taking public. And then number three, Chamath basically said the reason he's doing this is because there's over 700 US private companies valued over $1 billion, and they deserve to be public. And so there needs to be liquidity for those employees and investors in those companies. And that's why he thinks now is an opportunistic moment to take a SPAC public. I actually think there's a contrarian argument that this SPAC might end up not being as bad as people think. Obviously, I don't trust Chamath, and I think he's got to earn trust back after what he did in 2021. However, if he was ever motivated to get a company to go public that would deliver shareholder returns, it would be a SPAC after 4 years of messing up as much as he did back in 2021. So look, I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm not sure if there's like an arbitrage here, but could I see this moving higher if they announce a really good company that's profitable, that's growing, that's not like some bullshit, that like actually has a good management team? Yeah, I could see it pop. I could definitely see it pop. The question is, do you trust Chamath to actually bring a company like that public, or he's going to bring some scammy Virgin Galactic type of company public? I don't know. And I think more people would want to be proven false versus just blindly trust them. But Elf, by the way, up 4%. That is something that's going on with Chamath. And, you know, I think there is a world in which it does pop because he wants to rebuild his legacy, because a lot of people in the finance world still hate him for what happened in 2021. And I don't think they're ever going to forgive him unless you kind of find a way to bring companies public that aren't bad companies, which is something that we have to see. The heat map on the day, this one's barely red. You've got a decent amount of red on Amazon, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, but everything else is green. Financials, healthcare, industrials, consumer defensive, slightly red. Software is relatively green. IBM's up, Arista's up, Micron's up, Qualcomm is up, Adobe's up a little bit, Intuit's up a little bit. So heat map, not too bad. JOLTS data we should be getting in just a second. Let's see what the numbers come out to be. I don't have the numbers yet. Oh, we got it. 7.227. 7.227 on JOLTS. The street wanted 7.2. That's actually a beat. That's actually a beat on JOLTS. Not too bad. That is green on the day for JOLTS data. That's actually slightly bearish labor market, which is bad for rate cuts, but I don't think that's necessarily, like, it's not like 7.9 million jobs, right? It's not like some obscene amount of jobs that are available in the market that would cause the Fed to think twice. Wow, Hood back to 141 about the rate cutting cycle. Wow, S&P is going green. It's about to go green. You can see a couple green candles right there. Let's see if that continues. So far, the market likes it. So far, the market like it. 7.22 million jobs pending revision of 500,000. You got to watch out for the inevitable revisions. That's not horrible. That's not horrible. Consumer confidence today, 94.2 versus 95 or 96. So a little bit lower than expected. Okay, so consumer confidence down. I didn't know we get consumer confidence today, but we do along with JOLTS. By the way, JOLTS job quits even at 3.09 million. Last month was at 3.2 million. So you have less job quits, more job openings, and consumer confidence a little bit lighter than expected. That's not too bad. Why is the audio again being weird? What is going on with this? It is being weird today. Yes, we're better. We're better. Let me turn back to normal. Let's see if that fixes it. Let me know. Let me. It's not the Wi-Fi. Trust me, it's not the Wi-Fi. This time, I'm legit. It's actually StreamYard. It's actually StreamYard here. Like, if it was the Wi-Fi, I would know if it's the Wi-Fi. Not good. Okay, let me put it on. Let me just give me a second. Okay, let's see. Give it a second. It should get back to normal.
A little bit extra horsepower, 7,227,000. That'll be the best number since, well, just June. But in the rearview mirror, a nice upward revision. Last month, originally reported 7,181,000, becomes 7,200,000. It's significant because that now changed. The big number month now is March at 7,200,000. Conference board, these are September confidence numbers, and boy, they're disappointing. If we look at the headline, well below expectations at 94.2, the weakest since April of this year, sequentially lower, even though there was subtle positive revisions to all three metrics last month. If we look at the present situation, another big disappointment, 125.4, the weakest in September of 2024. Well below 132.4 in the rearview mirror for our August final. And finally, expectations at 73.4. That is the weakest since June of this year and much sequentially lower, of course, than 74.7.
Okay, can we hear me? Is it okay? Yes, no. I see that Nvidia is at an all-time high, but I need to know people can actually hear me to even look and talk about Nvidia. Yes, no. Are we okay? Yes, we're good. This is actually kind of annoying me today, bro. I don't know why. I promise you it's not the Wi-Fi today. It's not the Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi was happening, the whole video would lag. This is an audio thing, and this is where legit it's StreamYard. But regardless, Nvidia breaking out right here, 184.60. Okay, so 185 is the all-time high. It hit 184.94. I don't know why it's breaking out here. I mean, there's a couple headlines around Coreweave data centers, the new upgrade today, but that was pretty random for it to break out right when the JOLTS data came out. And that's nice to see. Now the question is, can it actually hold that level? Robinhood giving back 140. So Robinhood going down a little bit as Nvidia kind of going higher. And that one is breaking out. Yeah, you guys saying the audio is not in sync. Dude, today has just been a mess with some of this stuff. Today has been just stupid. I don't know what the heck is going on today, but it's being really weird and really dumb. Hopefully it's not that bad. And 183, all right, so now that red candle, dude, look at that red candle right in front of us, just like going all the way back down below 183.50 and now back up. Yeah, I think the cowbell broke it, bro. I think the freaking cowbell broke it today. Okay, my mic has a weird echo. I'm going to switch back to my regular mic. Immediately let me know if it sucks. Okay, do we suck or are we back to normal? If it sucks, I'm just going to unplug and go back to the old one and change it. 184.40. 184.40. 184.60. Better. Perfect. Dude, you know what I did? I unplugged it. Like, this is so stupid. How is unplugging it just fixes the issue? It is ridiculous. Like, this is, that's not a Wi-Fi thing. That's a ridiculous StreamYard thing where you have to unplug just to like make it better. Like, it's, I don't know. It's definitely not Wi-Fi. I know that. Maybe it's something else in my setup, but it's not Wi-Fi. Also, we have a cloud suppressor as well. So it's not like the mic is directly plugged into the computer. It goes through an exchange to get into the computer. So I think it's a software thing with StreamYard, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Nvidia right here, 184.07. That's up 1.2. It's giving back 184. It's not easily holding on to it. Tesla's down about 1%. Palantir, basically 0.5%. And then Hoodie, that's at 1.6. That's at 1.6. If Hood can get back to 140 for a fourth time in a row after losing it, I think that would be very impressive. But so far, not seeing if that can do that. Nebius back to 114. Okay, so almost everything that peaked to even so grab 614 to 608. Hoodie 142 to 139. Nvidia 184.94 back down to 183.70. AppLovin 717 to 702. So you're seeing a lot of these names take a little bit of a hit, maybe off of this JOLTS data potentially. Bitmine below 51. And Reddit, I don't have the news, but Reddit also nasty hit. It was at freaking 241 back down to 228. Let's get a little bit of more coverage on JOLTS. Again, it came in a bit better than expected, but that could also be making the labor market potentially signal that we don't need a rate cut. I don't think it's enough of a good JOLTS to say that we don't need a rate cut, but it might be why stocks are taking a little bit of a hit after some of this data.
Monthly jobs report on Friday. We will still get ADP though on Wednesday. That's the private sector jobs. But guys, it's the end of the quarter, so I just wanted to look at some interesting moves across markets that we don't necessarily always pay close attention to. The first, I mean, star performer, gold, really shining again during the month of September, during the quarter, and so far the year. I mean, it's just been the steady climb up. It's up 16%, as you can see, for the quarter on gold. It's tracking for its best year since 1979, up more than 45%. Why? Dollar's weaker. I don't know. Let's watch it during a shutdown. You know, is it a safe haven status? The Chinese buying, all these reasons that you're given and that you hear about gold. It's notable that it's up so much at a time where, you know, it hasn't been kind of like this risk-off, scary period for the markets where it's been a flight to safety. Gold is up as stocks have rallied as well. And then let's just look at the flip side of that trade, which is the US dollar. It's something I'll be watching into the shut.
Gold did hit a new all-time high today. Consumer confidence, again, CNBC is saying it's a bad beat. I mean, it came in at 94.2 versus 96. That is not something that I think people should be that scared about when it comes to the overall confidence of the consumer. Now, the Dixie continues to go down 97.84. That is likely why gold continues to gain momentum. Silver, by the way, almost broke all-time highs this morning as well. Gold right there, 38.35. It's gunning for 3,900. But I don't think consumer confidence is something to be scared about. I don't think that's something to be scared about. Why is Mercado Libre down 5%? I'm not sure. Looks like a lot of these names, dude. You had a lot of upgrades and downgrades this morning. I mean, maybe there's a downgrade here that's affecting Mercado Libre. I don't see a downgrade. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any headline that would get this one outside of technicals to make it come down 5%. That one's taking a hit. SoFi, again, we talked about it. Unfortunately, that one's getting a bit decimated right here. 26.17 down about 5%. And then Nvidia, very sloppy price action. It broke out for like 15 seconds while my audio wasn't working. And then as soon as the audio started working, it's right back down to 183.50. Do I need to break the microphone to make the stock finally get to all-time highs for Nvidia again? Like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I will do it. I've got a lot of Nvidia, bro. I will break the mic if we need this thing to finally break 185. But we got to see 183.61. Goodness gracious, dude. And then Hoodie still trying to break 140. Doug says we shouldn't care about consumer confidence. We know their methodology is not good and everyone was supposed to be terrified of September, so low confidence was expected. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, everyone is scared of September theoretically from a market perspective, but also just from a Main Street perspective. And so consumer confidence was bound to be low. Nvidia trying to make its way back to 184. But the methodology of a lot of this consumer confidence surveys, which again, they survey a couple hundred people. This is a country of 350 million, right? Like it usually never is that representative of the entire country. And it's hard to use that as like a leading indicator on what's happening with the market. Do a poll for breaking the mic. Dude, would you guys actually, like, obviously we're joking, but like if Nvidia was guaranteed like 187 today, would you actually want me to break the mic? This is a $600 mic. That's why I get so mad when the mic stops working. It's not the microphone. It's not the Wi-Fi. It's this freaking software. That's the only decent software for streaming, but still has its issues. But you guys actually want me to break it to guarantee 187? Because that means you care more about Nvidia than me. And I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest. That's a little, I don't know, dude. That feels a little aggressive. I mean, like if you really want me to break, because then I like that's the ruining the entire stream just for Nvidia to go up $3. Like, is that actually what you guys would want? Dude, everyone's saying yes. Y'all are some greedy mother effers, bro. Dude, I sounded like Tanner yesterday. Dude, Tanner, he wanted to say mother effer, but he's like, these MFers. It was the most Ned Flanders way to say that word. And he's rubbing off on me. You MFers are greedy, man. You can sign language to us. Dude, I'm not going to lie. If Nvidia did hit 187, I mean, I'd probably break the mic too. Why not? Why not? SMCI 2.87% today. Ethereum, that's still down. And then Bitcoin is down 1.11. I don't know if she wants to give it to us. Let me check 185 resistance. See that? Because if Nvidia goes up, you're probably going to get AMD going. I mean, you're probably going to get all these names following it. So it definitely would help the entire market. You do mute us every other day, so that's true. I do end up doing that by mistake. 185 has, wow, okay, I don't know if we're breaking 185, folks. 800,000 shares. It's almost $165 million. I don't know if we're easily breaking that. We got the update with the drug deal with Pfizer. Let me pull up to that. Let's see if we can get some more information there and see what Trump's doing with these tariffs.
Has the details, perhaps filling us in on why we've seen this move. Eamon.
Yeah, David, it is pharmaceutical related, and we don't have all the details right now. We're trying to solve a mystery in real time here, which is that the president has an event on his calendar at 11 a.m. just scheduled as an announcement. And the question is, what is that announcement? Well, our Angelica Peebles at CNBC has some reporting here from a source familiar saying that this announcement is pharmaceutical related. It's discounted prices in Medicaid, a 3-year reprieve on tariffs as long as the products are being built in the United States, and additional agreements with the United States. Now, the Washington Post is reporting just within the past couple of minutes that the president is going to announce an agreement with pharmaceutical giant Pfizer to voluntarily sell its medications through Medicaid at lower prices. And the White House confirms for me, guys, that this announcement will be pharmaceutical related. It is an individual company that is cutting a deal with the White House. And the White House, as of this moment, not confirming the name to me of that company, but the Washington Post reporting that it's Pfizer. And there you see the stock moving on that news from the Post. So we're going to work on some more details of what exactly is in this proposal. But for now, what we can tell you is that it's related to pharmaceutical pricing. It's an individual company. It's cutting a deal with the White House to lower prices across the board. And as you guys know, the president has made pharmaceutical pricing one of the goals of his presidency, to lower drug prices across the board. So this would be seen by the White House as a significant win, guys. Back over to you.
A little more color. Journal also has, it's going to be called Trump RX, which would allow people to pay cash for certain drugs directly from a government website. And just to follow our reporting there, you know, Pfizer plans to be a part of it, though it's unclear whether other companies will be a part of it and what it means for people who are already, you know, on insurance like Medicare or Medicaid. But
yeah, the Trump RX piece is, I mean, obviously it's a significant branding initiative. We don't have that confirmed. We're going to work on confirming that. No indication that that's wrong from.
All right, so that's what's helping Pfizer right here. Nvidia is still trying. Hoodie could not recover 140 yet. Nvidia, again, 800,000 shares at 185. That's going to be a tough hurdle to break through. And if it does break through, it's probably going way higher than 185, but not easily going to see that happening. Tesla still taking a hit. Palantir, Hood, and Nvidia still green on a day like this when you got a lot of red across the board based on the shutdown that's overlooming. Coreweave still holding on to 15%, 15.3, going even higher. High of days, 141 for Coreweave. And Nebius, it got to 117. Nebius right back down to 115, but still not too bad. How many people think Nvidia breaks it? How many people think Nvidia breaks it? Let's do a poll in the chat. 65% of you said we end out September green versus red. So far, it seems like we might be on track for that. Let's do a poll on how many people think Nvidia actually breaks through. I don't know, dude. 800,000 shares on a random Tuesday is hard to imagine. Does Nvidia break 185? But maybe if I actually break the microphone, it's going to happen. COPEX. Okay, so copper continues. COPEX again is the mining ETF for copper. This one continues to get momentum. I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning. I sent this to my uncle because he's been screaming about copper. Here's one of the headlines right here. Copper price forecast to rise as supply chain dwindles. If you read the article, essentially what it says, which is what we've been talking about for a while, data centers. Data centers, data centers, data centers. Copper, a critical metal used in data centers, electric vehicles, phones, and power grids, has seen futures prices rise 18.5% this year. I mean, if we continue to get this amount of momentum in the context of data centers, you're going to see the commodities that are necessary to build data centers, rare earth minerals, lithium, all that stuff, copper as well, potentially catch a bid. So it's definitely one of those things to think about. Silver as well is up there and potentially being a nice little hedge going into 2026. But the commodities might end up being the best hedge in 26 because theoretically, when commodities go up, equities go down. Now, that hasn't happened because I think the dollar is down so much that people are piling into equities and the earnings are so good, people are piling into equities. But if there is a little bit of a hiccup, maybe gold and silver outperform the S&P a little bit during next year, which kind of counts as a bit of a hedge going into 2026. But eventually, we're going to have to see how the market thinks of those earnings as well. Nvidia 184.20. At least it's holding 184. Not able to break through 185 yet, but it's holding 184. And then SoFi continues to get hit, down 5%. Copper moving tells you construction is happening, which is actually really good for manufacturing PMIs, which Tom Lee has said time and time again, if that can get above 50 and hold above 50, and it's been below 50 for the past couple of years, which is a sign of contraction. If we can sustainably get it above 50, along with earnings being good, we are going to have a pretty healthy economy. And we got rates coming down. The only thing that messes that up is the labor market. And hopefully the labor market does not really get hit that bad. And if so, then we'll be okay. Was I saying cropper? There's no way I said cropper, bro. There's no, you guys are trolling. There's no way I freaking said cropper. There's no way. No, I did not say copper. I refuse to believe I said cropper. I said copper. I think. Just once you said it. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. Hoodie 138.70 again. Let's see if we can try to get back above 150 or 140. And then Nvidia 185. Next event will show us a typewriter. Dude, it is really nice to have a physical paper and read through some of this stuff. The problem is, and what I've noticed about these physical papers is like, I want to read a lot of these articles, but like it takes time to read them, right? And so like when I sit down to read in the morning, I don't have all the time in the world. I maybe get through 1 or 2 articles and I'm like, there's like 15 articles in this freaking newspaper. And what am I going to do? I'm going to throw it in the trash in a few hours. I'm not going to like, after the show, sit down and read the articles. No, because I got a bunch of other stuff to do. So it is just the most pointless use of paper you can imagine. I don't understand why they still print this stuff. I mean, it really, to me, is just a waste. It is nice to hold it and like physically read it when I'm sitting down, but still, it's like, it's going to go in the trash. It's just a waste. So I don't understand why they still print this stuff, but I guess they still do. Because I could easily just read these articles on my phone. Like I have a Wall Street Journal subscription on my iPhone, but if they give the papers for free, I'm going to read the papers, but I can't read everything. So it ends up just being thrown out in the trash or recycled. Yeah, sure. But like the point is a lot of people are just going to end up wasting it, which is, weird for why they even still print it. 184.20 on Nvidia. That is still green. Wow. Hoodie. Yep. We did get to 140 2 seconds ago. Got back to 140. Just got rejected at 140, back down to 139.50. But this is the 4th time in a row we lost it and we got back. Grab right there, 609, lost 614. Amazon 219, that's down 1.3. And then Meta down about 1.83%. You can't be all day on the screen. That is fair. I just think like scrolling through your phone and reading an article quickly versus like literally unfolding a piece of paper, which I will say, reading the paper makes you more focused on the article and it lets you absorb the information more. Meta, by the way, first time below breaking 730 in about 2 months, 729 on Meta. That's down about 1.84. But the paper ends up getting wasted. which to me doesn't make much sense. Who's buying SoFi here? Who's buying SoFi? 26.17. Are we buying SoFi? Are we taking a stab at it? Is anyone selling some puts right here on SoFi? What are the put premiums paying? Let's see. What's a reasonable price to pay for SoFi? 22, 23? Is that reasonable? Can we sell some puts expiring this week? SoFi. Dude, these put premiums aren't even that good. That's the problem. Maybe we go to October 10th. That's not too bad. $24 put paying 31 cents. That's about a 1.3% return in about 10 days. Tess says she bought some SoFi. Fritz bought some SoFi. Okay, a bunch of people saying they bought some SoFi. I don't think those $23 puts or $24 puts are that bad. I don't think that's bad. All right, I'm going to sell a couple of those. I'm going to sell 5 of those. We're going to sell 5 of those. All right, so we're selling the put, $24, October 10th. That means I'm agreeing to buy 500 shares at $24 a piece. That's $12,000 in collateral. We're getting $150 of premium to be able to do that. Place the order. We'll see when it fills, but there you go. $150 off 12,000 of premium, about a 1.3% return in about 10 days. And I wouldn't mind buying SoFi at 24 if we had to, especially going into Q3 earnings. So we'll do a little bit of a play right there on SoFi. Matt says I have my normal money buy schedule today for today. SoFi is in there. Yeah, dude, I think being down 5% off Upstart's credit rating is stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Robinhood back to 140. I think we have some hood news, folks. I think we have some more hood news. Hold on. Let me pull this up. This could also be the reason it was running this morning. Oh, wow. Robinhood explores launching prediction markets outside the U.S. This is exactly what Roy, Tanner, and I were talking about on the pod yesterday. The idea that eventually this is going to expand globally. That might have been the reason, folks. That might have been the reason it moved this morning. I mean, if they're selling 2 billion contracts every 90 days just in the United States, they do that across the world. Theoretically, this could become a $500 to $1 billion business for them in a couple of years. 95% margins. Okay, the SoFi puts got filled. You guys see that on Legend? Top left corner, we got the notification. SoFi puts were filled. All right, so we're in these SoFi puts for $10, $24 strike. That could be the reason why the market's getting excited for hood along with the S&P stuff yesterday. And if we get a close above 140, that would not be too bad. Rango says, so bullish. UK, Australia, Bet365 is huge in the UK and Australia. It's a big betting culture. Bet365, never heard of that company. Online sports betting, Bet365. I've heard of Stake. Have you guys heard of Stake? They're like a crypto casino from what's the other one? From Australia. I've heard of Stake. They use a lot of crypto to like gamble with blackjack and poker and all that stuff. But I've never heard of Bet365. But I would imagine, I mean, sports gambling seems to be something, now that I have some experience with it, is very thrilling, very exciting, and the human nature element around sports combined with gambling definitely can be an argument. Have you not heard about Bet365? They have billboards all over the US. I guess I never heard of them. Like, I've never seen a commercial for these guys. Maybe I have and I just didn't notice. But yeah, I mean, if you've got this much demand for sports betting, that's where Robinhood can get it. Yeah, India is also a massive market. I mean, these UFC fights are crazy. The amount of people bet on them. Like, this is a pretty big market. Pound your back to 180. That is something Hood should be able to tackle in a very exciting way. So not too bad. Ethereum, we are at 4130. Resolve AI, that stock's down 1.2% again. This one relatively, it was strong last week. It's been a little flat this week. Nothing too crazy here. Another AI name that's been getting a bit more attention. Same thing with Big Bear AI. Dell right there is up 3%. Dell's actually up 3%. Dell and SMCI. You got the server rack companies getting some momentum today, probably off the back of Nvidia that's been stuck at 184, trying to break through. Where's Broadcom? Resolve got a short report today. Okay, that's probably why it's down 3.4%. Broadcom is down. Interesting. Broadcom's down, Nvidia's up. Huh. Broadcom down, Nvidia up. Snapchat, that's down 5%. I think we all knew that was inevitable. It's Snapchat. Like when they pumped to 940 based on their new OS for AR glasses, it was the dumbest thing ever, in my opinion. Because it's like AR glasses are not a thing. They're definitely not a thing for Snapchat. And like that's not going to make them any money, having some new platform for AR, VR. So like a lot of these headlines for Snapchat are built on hype. They're not really that instrumental towards any growth. So anyone who bought puts on that pop is getting rewarded. Wolf, again, we talked about Wolfspeed this morning. They are not going bankrupt anymore. That stock's still up 32%. I guess the ability to come out of bankruptcy is what's getting the street excited. I don't know if that's a legit enough reason to be excited, but that's why that's up 30%. Open Door, is that still holding green? Open Door is green. It was red. It was down at 780, back to 830. So nice little rebound on Open Door, up 1.4. Pfizer again announcing that they will be working with Trump to create new Medicare pricing on drugs. That's up 4%. Iran also going green. Iran going green, and then Coreweave still holding on to almost a 15% day, which is not too bad. India banned all betting apps last month until August 27th. Really? India banned betting apps? Really? Holy crap. India, as of August 2025, India has banned real money betting apps and online money games with the passing of the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill. This legislation prohibits all online games that involve players risking money for the chance to win cash prizes, regardless of whether they are considered games of skill or chance. Bro, why do they ban? Are they like, Companies that continue to offer real money games can face fines of up to $115,000 and 3 years in prison. Well, I guess that's the risk to prediction markets if countries across the world, including the United States, which I don't think the US would ever do it, but you know, we have our own set of regulations. I don't think we would have a full-on ban. If that entire market gets banned, that obviously is the major risk to the banning markets. Everything is banned in gaming in India. Companies have been shut overnight. Dude, why do they ban gambling? Why are they? Is it like something more structural? Or wow, Nvidia, maybe she's going for the run here. 184.70. Let's see. Are they afraid the youth are getting into that culture too deeply? That's a big move for a country to unilaterally ban this stuff. Okay, here we go, folks. 800,000 shares at 185. 830,091 to be exact. 830,091. Who's going to buy up this Nvidia at 185? Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. I'm not going to ring the bell, by the way, if we hit 185. It's going to mess up the mic again. I got to figure out what's going on with the mic. So forgive me for not ringing the bell if we break through. Honestly, if I ring the bell and we break the mic, it's probably going to go to 187. So like maybe that's the right thing to do. But let's see. Can we do it? Can we do it? Does it have the juice ready to squeeze? BM&R still down below 50. Hoodie at the same time for its 7th time in a row trying to recover 140. There she goes, back to 140. So now it's just going back and forth between 139 and 140. So you're probably going to see a lot more of these moves. But a close above 140 would be exciting. Would be very, 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 very exciting. The U.S. banned online poker ages. Is poker banned in the United? Oh, never mind. Nvidia 185. That was quick. That was okay. There you go. Nvidia. Wow, dude. 185.50. I was over here reading the chat. I thought I had some time to read some of these comments in the chat. No, I didn't. 185. Dude, talk about busting through. 830,000 shares was nothing for Nvidia. Oh my. 185.80. Holy crap. She's going for 186. She's going for 186. 186 resistance is 16,000 shares. 16,000 shares for 186. She is 10 cents away finally breaking through 185. It has been so long. Oh my God, dude, the amount of people on Twitter that quote tweeted me off of anything bullish I said on Nvidia before earnings, and then it fell 10%, and they were like, this was the top, this guy was the top, this guy was the top. I mean, dude, it's like the amount of people that just like said anyone bullish before Nvidia, before or after the earnings, even though it was back down to 165, it was a top signal. I mean, it was ridiculous, bro. It's like companies are not allowed to fall after good earnings. Like that happens. That's part of the stock market. All those people are wrong today because that was obviously not the top. Nvidia right here, 185.70. Now seeing if it can break 186. I mean, not for a millisecond did I think that was the top, because like I actually look at the numbers other than just like the pure headlines of whatever these people were using to try to become the Michael Burry of AI. And you're likely seeing momentum continue for Nvidia if they can keep up that growth. Trying to go for 186 here. Trying to go for 186. Hoodie just below 140. SoFi, wow, 25.84. Look, I'm in it. I'm feeling the pain on SoFi. I got the $24 puts. If it goes to 24, I'll be buying shares. So for everyone that's a little red today, I will be joining you at 24 if it actually does get there. But 25.83, that's down about 6%. Hood trying to get back to 140. Nvidia's 10 cents away. I think if you're that close, you probably break 186. Maybe it doesn't, but if you're that close, only 16,000 shares, I think you break it. Do I ring the bell, guys? Do I ring the bell? Do I break the mic and take one for the team? Do I do it? Do I do it to try to make us some money? Do I have to do it? 185.60 on Nvidia. Dude, imagine we're at 190 end of week. Imagine we break through 190, 195 is where it normalizes. Like, hopefully the 170s and 160s is just out of the question at that point. Okay, everyone's saying ring the bell. If it breaks the mic, it's not my fault. If it breaks the mic, it's not my fault. Ladies and gentlemen, all-time highs on Nvidia. Was it Temu or could you hear it? Was it Temu? It was Temu. Okay. So now we got to see if it broke the mic. Now we got to see if it actually breaks the mic. If it breaks the mic, we're going to 195, bro. We're going to 195. 185.80. All right, here you go. 10 more cents. We got 10 more cents. See if we can get up there. Before the market closed, I'm gonna do a couple tests on my own because some of you were on that stream on the market close. This was back in May of last year, and the mic was broken for like on the bell for like a month, and then finally after hours we like clicked a couple buttons on StreamYard and it fixed it. So maybe that continues. Wow, 186, 186. The Temu bell worked, baby. The Temu bell worked, baby. 186.36 just broke through it. Oh my goodness. Dude. Just smashed through 186, right there below 186. I think we get back there. 187, 127,000 shares. 187, a little bit tougher, 127,000 shares. But it's not too bad. It is not too bad. And it's breaking through. Dude, that's pretty incredible, dude. I didn't actually think we would break it that quickly. I thought it was going to teeter-totter a little bit more. There's only been a couple minutes since it broke 185. Now it break 186, new all-time high. Wait, what's the market cap now of Nvidia? Yeah, S&P's red, bro. That's the crazy. Robinhood's green, Nvidia's green, and the S&P and Bitcoin and Ethereum are red. That is quite incredible. You don't see that often, given those assets are so correlated. Nvidia, 4.5 trillion market cap. 4.5 trillion on Nvidia. And the VIX is green. Dude, how is the VIX green? Bitcoin down, S&P down, Amazon and Meta down 2%, and then Hood and Nvidia and Palantir are holding up. I mean, that is quite incredible. That is quite incredible. Robinhood right there trying to get back to 140, and then Nvidia trying to get back to 186. Yeah, it's all going to Hood and Nvidia. That's maybe that's what's happening today. And unfortunately, SoFi is still going down. It's taking a hit. Yeah, the VIX tends to go up as the market drops, correct? But usually the VIX going up would mean that, this 8% of the S&P might not go up with it. But that is going up. SoFi is trash. I'm an official SoFi bear. So, okay, SoFi, we cannot get too emotional about price action. SoFi is not trash. The stock was at $30 a week ago. It is down off of a competitor's credit delinquency report, to my understanding. That's what Tanner told me yesterday. That is not a reason that the company is trash by any sense of the imagination. That stuff happens, dude. It's the stock market. That stuff, markets, algos, they compare things back and forth and they end up coming to these conclusions. And I wouldn't get too emotional about this. If you're a heavy believer in SoFi, I think to me it's a buy the dip. If this thing breaks below 20, then we've got some issues. But I really find that hard to happen. I think it's more so just a question of the market getting a bit afraid of delinquencies. And look, credit delinquencies have gone up across auto and credit cards itself. Right, we looked at those charts a couple weeks ago. So it's like the market's right to be cautious about it. That doesn't mean SoFi's trash. That just means that SoFi's underwriting hopefully is better, and they'll show that in the earnings. Also, yeah, end of month rebalancing. You might have a bunch of people that are just taking some profits on SoFi. I mean, that thing is up freaking 4x from April. You might have people just wanting to rebalance a bit. And as a result, they're taking some profits right here. So I don't think that's too crazy. Palantir 180.5, that one not slowing down, getting some momentum. Hood trying to get back to 140, and then Nvidia. We touched 186, busted through for about 30 seconds, and then it got hit back down to 185. I would not be surprised. S&P now down a full 0.25% of the day. I would not be surprised if Nvidia falls back to red on the day, just because you got a lot of other forces in the market going down. The reason Nvidia is up is likely because of the upgrade this morning and the Coreweave deal. I do think that has a positive impact for the overall data center plays. That's why Nebius is up as well. Coreweave, again, $14 billion deal with Meta. By the way, another company, Cerebras Systems, they just raised $1 billion at an $8 billion valuation in the private markets. They just raised $1.1 billion in the private markets. I don't know a ton about this company, but from my understanding, they are in the data center space. They are a training platform. Their website says they are the fastest AI infrastructure. Yeah, they just raised the Series G. That could also be helping NVIDIA. I would imagine they are definitely a customer of NVIDIA. Again, I don't know enough about them, but that in and of itself could be helping the entire ecosystem of semiconductors today. NVIDIA right there, 185. Oh, they're on CNBC right now? The CEO's talking about it? Okay, let's pull up to him. Let's see them kind of explain what they're saying. They filed for an IPO a year ago, so it looks like they're not going to raising some growth capital before they go public.
On silicon, we were able to process that information more quickly and deliver answers in less time and for less power.
You just raised $1.1 billion. I know there was an effort to go public a little over a year ago. I'm just sort of curious as to how you're viewing your company's progress at this point from a financial point of view, and whether you're going to need another capital raising opportunity in the likes of an IPO.
Well, look, an IPO is not the goal. An IPO is a milestone on the path to building an extraordinary company. And many companies, as you well know, do a late stage round with public market investors prior to going public. This round was led by Fidelity and Atreides. It had significant participation from Tiger Global, from Valor, from 1789 Capital. And so this positions us extremely well for the extraordinary growth we're currently undergoing.
Yeah, what does that growth look like then? Can you give us some sense? I mean, I'm only...
Okay, so this guy is not necessarily the most exciting to listen to, but yeah, they raised $1 billion at $8 billion valuation. Tanner, by the way, he has just tweeted he has officially bought the SoFi dip. Tanner has bought the SoFi dip. I love how you tweeted this. I bought the SoFi dip. Oh, there you go. Tanner's buying it. Tanner is buying some of these levels in the the $20, $25 range. I did not swap my Misty for BMNR. Guys, when I sell my Misty, I will tell you guys. I have not sold it. I still have my Misty. I don't know if you guys want me to show you my phone so you guys can get proof that I still have my Misty, but I have not sold my Misty. When I sell it, I will let you guys know. I'm not opposed to selling it because it's been a piece of shit, but I do think there will be a Bitcoin reversal towards the end of the year. That should help MicroStrategy, and that should help Misty. But as of now, I'm kind of just leaving it because it's a very small position. I mean, it's not really worth taking the loss on it. I'd rather just kind of see if the thesis plays out. So no, I have not sold it for BMNR. I would not blame anyone though from transitioning from Misty to BMNR. First of all, the covered call premiums on Bitmine are better. Second of all, Bitmine just has more alpha. I mean, MicroStrategy has been a dud, and I think that changes if Bitcoin reverses. I don't know if Bitcoin easily reverses though, so we're gonna have to see. But then again, if Ethereum goes up, Bitcoin should go up. So technically it should help the entire industry, which means it should help MicroStrategy. So I do think there's a thesis to hold both of them towards the end of the year. But I'm still holding it. Steve's holding it as well. Both of us are still holding our Misty. To be honest, yeah. I mean, look, maybe it's a good time to buy it because it's cheap. And if this is the bottom on MicroStrategy, I mean, you got to really be confident that this is the bottom on MSTR. And then, probably Misty is closer to bottoming than not. I don't know if it's the bottom, bro. I mean, MicroStrategy has been a dud all year. I am not so in the weeds of everything he's doing with all of his preferred offerings and the dilution and stuff. Like, I just know he's very heavily leveraged and collateralized. And I think it's not allowing the stock to really breathe. But also, Bitcoin's been flat for the past 3 months. And, that's not helping either. Ethereum, on the other hand, has really made a move, which is helping Bitcoin. Now Ethereum has been flat, but the thing was under 3,200 back in like April. And so you are getting a decent change from that level. I mean, Bitcoin's been kind of stuck at this 110, 115 range for a minute, bro. Last time it broke out was in July up to that 120 level. I think it was August, but then it's just been kind of flat. I'm not holding Big Bear either. I've never bought Big Bear. I really don't like the growth of this company. I think the only reason it's up is because of the hype of the politician buying it. Now, granted, maybe the politician is buying it because they know they're about to get some juicy contracts, and that is the buy signal, but the actual growth is just like not that impressive. And so it's hard to be super excited to bet on those guys. Nvidia trying to make a run again for 186. Oh, my bad. ETH was a 1,400 in April. Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, 1,400 to 4,000 since then. Massive move. Massive, massive, massive move. And I think that's why the market is excited. Yeah, Misty's still paying $1 dividend per month, but again, it was $4 earlier in the year. Like it's definitely gone down a lot since then. It's got Bear in the name. Are they crazy? Palantir partnered with Big Bear AI back in 2020. I've known about this company for 5 years. I've just never thought about investing in them. And then they had their move earlier in the year. The problem is, again, the last quarter was not a good quarter. They didn't take any questions on the earnings. They lowered the growth forecast. So if you're buying this, I think you've got to believe long-term, they're going to have a massive growth story. It's just probably a couple of years of like some stagnation. And that's when you buy, right? When no one likes it, when it's cheap. But you got to believe in that turnaround on the growth story. Nvidia, 10 cents away, 3 cents away from revisiting 186. There you go. Back to 186. Back to 186. All right. 186.30. This is the move. Can it break 186.30? Kalshi says 80% chance of a shutdown. It looks kind of likely based on what JD Vance said yesterday as well. Maybe at 11:59, we're going to get a turnaround by our politicians. But the fact that Nvidia is moving on a shutdown, I mean, if Nvidia was just trading on pure probabilities of a shutdown, any stock trading on pure probabilities, maybe you would say those stocks would be flat or red if the shutdown probabilities are as high as they are. But Nvidia is going higher. Nvidia is going higher. 186. 186. All right, let's see what other headlines we have today. Again, we had that massive hood move in the morning. Kind of chilling out now. We have the Coreweave deal that was big for Nebius. Got some quotes from Trump. He says, so disappointed in Putin for not ending the Ukraine war. He said Putin should have finished that war or had that war done in a week. We know that Trump is now publicly supporting Zelensky a lot more in engaging in the war. And then we had the Trump Pfizer headlines a couple of minutes ago. 186.39. Wow, broke through all-time highs. Broke through all-time highs. Just below that, but it was at 186.36. Now it's at 186.39. Will it be another buy the dip moment if the government shuts down? I think so. I think it will be another buy the dip moment if the government shuts down. Because we know it eventually it'll open back up. So to me, it's not that scary there. Thomas, thanks for the $10 super chat. Hey, Amit, sending love from Singapore. Thanks for keeping me and my wife entertained throughout the market open. You're on our daily show now. Can we get a look at Tiger? Tiger, first of all, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for you and your wife watching every day. Tiger, if I'm not wrong, this is a brokerage, right? This is a Singaporean brokerage, if I'm not wrong. I've heard of these guys. I will take a look at them. When did they go public? They went public, back in 2019. Year to date, they're up, 64%. Yeah, I'll put it on the list. I'll pass this over to Tanner as well. He always likes to look at new financial companies, and we'll get his thoughts on it. But I have heard of these guys. Yeah, Singapore brokerage. Okay, makes sense. All right, we'll take a look at them. We will take a look and see if there's some alpha here. That is up about 65% on the day. Wow, Nvidia breaking through, baby. 187. What is the resistance? Let's see. 186.57. 187, 153,000 shares. 153,000 shares. Okay. Maybe that is not enough shares to break out. Amazon introduces the color version of Kindle e-reader. Do not tell me that's the Amazon announcement today, bro. Do not tell me that's the freaking Amazon announcement. A new color on a Kindle? Don't tell me that's what they did the event for today. Please do not tell me that, dude. Is that actually the announcement? Amazon 219. I'll see if I can get an update on their event today. Dude, what is wrong with Twitter today? No search results for Amazon? What is going on? The whole morning, dude, whether it's my mic or StreamYard or what do you mean there's no search results for Amazon, Twitter? What are you talking about? You're telling me no one's tweeted about Amazon? What is going on this morning, dude? This government shutdown is like affecting everything, whether it's a microphone or X. No results for Amazon. Like, what are we talking about? What is going on today? What is happening? Amazon still down 1%. Grab at 605. Hoodie at 138. And then Nvidia 30 cents away from 187. Yeah, Twitter's broken for you guys too, right? It's like being slow on my end. Even on the feed. Bro, Elon didn't. Yeah, all right. It's not working at all. It's not working at all. Elon didn't freaking pay his GPU bills today. This morning, I'm sorry, guys. This morning has been a mess. I'm saying it's definitely on my part with the mic, and I'm going to try to fix that before the close. But just across the board, getting access to information and stuff, it's just been a little bit of a weird morning. But we do have a new all-time high on Hoodie and Nvidia, which hopefully makes up for it. Nvidia trying to break through 187. Trying to break through. Thoughts on Klarna? I don't like it. I look, 77% of their revenues is from merchants, not consumers. So I think the credit risk is not as heavy as like a traditional consumer finance company. The problem is I think this company has been trying to go public for so long and they failed at IPOs multiple times and they finally made it happen a couple weeks ago and it just was not a good IPO. So I think whatever momentum they thought would get them to finally go public and allow them to really, get investor interest just wasn't there. And so if retail's not interested in Klarna and the tooths are like, the institutions are like, whatever, it's a nice little fintech. I don't know how it catches a bid. Also, they're not profitable. So I think it's going to take them a few months to really go for it. But I would not buy Klarna here. I mean, it's just not that exciting at these levels. Nvidia, 10 cents away. 10 cents away to see if we can break through. to see if we can break through 186.85. However, I do think Klarna, which is only $100 million away from profitability, if they turn the profitability corner in a couple quarters, that stock can, re-rate. But what's the re-rating, right? Does it go to 50, 60? Like, is it actually worth that much? It IPO'd at 42. Now it's at 36. So like, it's a little bit of a stagnated situation that you're really contingent on earnings to be able to get the multiple to make some momentum. 186 on Nvidia, 186.83. This one's still trying to break through, but not easily doing it. Amazon executives announced launch of Alexa Plus greetings and familiar face features on 2K and 4K devices starting in December. New Fire TV, Blink cameras, and more products. Okay, so I guess that's the Amazon announcement. Here we go. 5 cents away. Come on. 5. Oh, we hit it. Hold on, we hit it. Oh, it must have been super quick. I didn't even see that, bro. While I was reading the Amazon comment, I didn't even see that. There you go. Yup, we hit it. There it is. There it is. 187. 187 on Nvidia. 187, baby. Market cap is now 4.55 trillion on Nvidia. 4.55 trillion dollars on Nvidia. Dude, I did not expect on the last day of September for Nvidia to break through all-time highs. Who would have thought, dude? Who would have thought? 187. Well, we know it's better than 187. We know it's better than 187. 188 resistance is 135,000 shares. 135,000 shares. 187 was like 120,000. So maybe not that crazy if it has a shot to get there. Maybe not that crazy. Okay, so I'm going to ring the bell. However, I'm going to do a new setting on the software. Maybe this helps you guys actually hear the bell. Okay, so I just changed the settings. We're going to ring the bell. If it breaks the mic again, that just means Nvidia goes higher. If it doesn't break the mic, then we get to hear the bell. So it's a win-win situation. All right, folks, 187, new all-time high on Nvidia. Is it Temu? We fixed it. We fixed it. Boom, baby. We fixed it. All right. Now that the mic's not broken, though, I don't know if we get Nvidia to go higher. See, that's that might be the trade-off here. But all right, good. Good. We fixed it. Now, if we can get Nvidia to go even higher and the bell's working, then maybe we are really headed to 190, bro. Maybe that's the case. So not too bad. Not to break the mic. Dude, if Nvidia tanks to 184 because the mic's now working, it'll be unfortunate, but at least we'll have gotten to break through all-time highs. Wow, Nvidia breaking through 187.08. Dude, who do you think is buying today? Where is this momentum coming from? 187.20, boom, new all-time highs. New all-time highs after the bell ring. We're good, baby. We're good. And if we can crack 187.50, we're going to be really good. My goodness, what's the volume on Nvidia today? 92 million shares. The average is 192. So today, it's already done 48% of its volume in less than 2 hours of the market open. Hood back, or trying to get back to 140. Got there for a second. Trying to get back there. Coreweave could have been the catalyst today. Coreweave's not slowing down at all. Coreweave, I mean, it got to 142. It's at 140, but that one being a pretty strong name today. And then Nebius, 117. Nebius back to 117. Nebius back to 117. Dude, this is, I mean, I guess it's the data center plays along with the broader rebalance. Maybe the rebalance towards the end of the month is is sell off, you know, some of your winners and reallocate into Nvidia. Remember, Nvidia is the most under-owned Mag 7 in the 13Fs. So in the institutional holdings, which I could not believe when Morgan Stanley came out with that report, but it is the most under. Google and Amazon are the top two. Nvidia's number like 5. No, Nvidia's number 7. Tesla's like number 5, and then Apple's number 6. But Nvidia's low, right? So maybe the institutions are saying, all right, we're going to take some profits and we're going to go into something quote unquote safe. And maybe the safe thing is Nvidia. Potentially. Still holding 187 on the day. Derek Dagger, thank you for becoming a channel member. Shout out to Derek Dagger. He is someone who's worked at Nvidia for a long time. He was at the Miami meetup. He gave me those Nvidia socks that I showed off last time on the earnings. He's got to be enjoying today. Congratulations, man. Thank you for working so hard for all of us shareholders. Thank you for waking up every morning and thinking about shareholder value. We deeply appreciate it. And it was awesome to see you at the Miami meetup. So congratulations, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Hoof, thank you for becoming a channel member as well. That's a very cute dog on the profile picture. And then Shirley Song, thank you as well for becoming a channel member. Deeply, deeply appreciate it. Neil, thanks for the super chat. Can you ask Steve to write an article on SoFi? Dude, we have got to troll Steve on his timing of this article. We've got to do it. The next time he's live, we've got to do it, bro. Like that, I mean, it's just so funny. Like, it's hilarious because it's like, you know, Steve's a lovable character, and then he wakes up on Monday, chooses violence, downgrades one of our favorite stocks, and then it just rips in front of him. And it's hilarious because he's not even bearish on Robinhood, the product. He just hates the company for whatever reason. He hates the company. And it just has kept going higher. And he's like, well, I'm just not going to buy it. And the day he downgrades it, it rips up. So maybe if he does that for SoFi, that would help. But no, he's not going to get defensive. It'll be funny. It'll be funny. He's going to take it like a champ. It's just like, it literally, bro, like I've had bad timing on stuff. Trust me, I've had bad timing on stuff. But it's just hilarious how bad his timing was. Like, it was so bad. I was like, goodness great. And he told me Sunday night, he's like, I got an article coming out tomorrow about your favorite stock. I was like, oh, Hoodie? You're writing about Hoodie? He's like, yep, I'm writing about Hoodie. I expected bro code. I expected bro. Like, that's my girl. Hood, that's my girl. Like, you don't talk shit about my girl. And then I wake up Monday morning and I'm like, Hood, downgrade. And I'm like, dude, talk shit about my girl. And, you know, talk shit, you got hit. That's what happened. Talk shit, you got hit. And so it was just hilarious, dude. It was just so freaking funny that happened. Nvidia right here, just below 187, 186.86. Now, still up about 2.7% of the day. Chuck Schumer's talking. Oh boy, what is Schumer saying, bro? What are the headlines from Schumer? Is Twitter back? Is Twitter working again? Okay, Twitter's working. Schumer, quote, heading into a shutdown. Okay, folks, I think it's happening. Schumer said it. JD Vance said it. Jeffrey said it this morning. Like, I guess they are ready. Unless at 11:59 they changed their opinion. Etsy's down 10%. I still don't know why Etsy's getting down. That's weird, bro. Etsy got a great partnership yesterday. Not sure why it's going down. Etsy right there down 10%, bro. What the heck happened there? But it looks like this government shutdown is more likely than not. Let's see if we can get some coverage on the shutdown. Again, any coverage we get is kind of just, oh, Trump's doing an announcement from the Oval Office. Oh, Trump's about to do a drug deal with Pfizer. Dude, I thought that was going to happen in like a week. Apparently that's happening today. Scheduled for 11 a.m. It's probably going to start at 11:15 because we know that doesn't start on time. But it looks like we'll get a Trump Oval Office announcement soon. Again, any of the coverage on the shutdown is going to definitely be a bit more political because each side has their own way of interpreting it. Let's listen to a little bit of Mike Johnson and get his thoughts on what's going on.
Added to it at all. It's 24 pages in length. It is a simple measure to keep the government open so that we can continue the appropriations process. It's done in good faith. And I will say this, Joe, it's exactly what Democrats all voted for 13 times during the Biden administration. Now they don't want to do it because they want to fight Trump. And a lot of good people are going to be hurt because of this.
Mr. Speaker, at that meeting yesterday, did they present, and I don't know how much you can talk about what went on, but did they give an entire the Democrats an entire wish list of things? Did they say they want health care for illegal immigrants and I don't know, funding, some TVs? They said we want all these things.
Yes, and they put it in writing because remember, they filed a counter proposal continuing resolution. We filed a 24-page clean CR. They filed a dirty CR as a counter proposal, included in it, and they brought this up at the meeting yesterday. They want to restore taxpayer-funded benefits, American taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens, okay? We're not doing that. We got rid of that in our One Big Beautiful Bill. We're not going back to that policy. This was a big issue in the election last fall.
Let me get the Pfizer update real quick, and then we'll get back to Trump RX. Did I miss? It's called Trump RX. Wait, they're calling this new partnership. What? Trump to announce direct-to-consumer government website dubbed Trump RX for Americans to buy medication. Wait, that's the website? Is there Trump RX? Is it live.com? No, it's not live yet. Holy crap. Dude. Oh my. I did not know that. RX. White House to announce Trump RX drug buying website and deal with Pfizer. Bro. Okay. It's T-Rex. Yeah, I mean, look, it's politics, right? Obamacare, Trump RX, it's all politics. And Trump would not miss out an opportunity. I mean, even the Invest America accounts that are $1,000 for every baby born in this country, starting this year, they're called Trump investment accounts as well. So like, I mean, he's going to take advantage of these opportunities. But all right, so I guess in about 15, 20 minutes, he'll go live and we'll see exactly what happens here. All right, what do we think, guys? Are we going to get some pharma pumps today? J&J. Does this have an impact on HIMSS? I don't think it necessarily does. I mean, HIMSS is acting like it has an impact, down about 3.4%. Pfizer, again, is green, 2.8%. It was up 4%. Nvidia, we might have to break the mic, guys. We got to 187.23. If we want 188, we might have to break the mic. And then Hoodie, trying to get back to 140. Oh, we got some shutdown news. Let's see if we can get some more coverage here. Let's see if we can get some more details. All right, for all intended purposes, it looks like there's probably going to be some type of a shutdown. I mean, it might last for a day or two, especially if they're close to a deal, but if they don't get a deal in 12 hours, then there will likely be some type of a shutdown. I guess we'll see. We are going to see how this ends up playing out. Nvidia, are we back to 187? Oh, we're back to 187. Can we break 187.23, baby? Can we break 187.23? Then we got all-time highs. Let's see. 10 cents away, 3 cents away, 2 cents away. Got to 187.20. Come on, bro. We know she wants 190. We know she wants it. What's the best hedge for a government shutdown? I don't think you need to hedge, honestly. I think if you get a dip, you lean into that. A self-inflicted wound. There's actually this clip. Let me see if I can find it. But I saw this clip last night, and actually it is very similar to the whole concept of a government shutdown. I think you lean into the dip, and I think the hedge is not as necessary because I don't think it's going to be some underlying, like some massive shutdown that breaks the entire economy. It'll be temporary, which hopefully is not the worst thing in the world. Do I have the clip? Let's see. Government shutdown means no taxes. No, they will open it up by April, and we're gonna have to pay our taxes. We'll definitely have to pay our taxes. Okay, I can't exactly find the clip, but the essential point is, like, during COVID, like, if you bought the dip, the understanding was, hey, the economy is shut down, but eventually it'll reopen. And so there was a lot of reasons to buy the dip during COVID, but like one of the core reasons was, hey, we will eventually reopen the economy. Same thing with the government shutdown, right? If the government shuts down and there's a dip, eventually we'll reopen it, and hopefully that dip won't last because you're going to have businesses coming back. So it shouldn't be the the biggest issue in the world. Dude, we broke 187.23, new all-time high, 187.26. We broke through. Nvidia is showing a lot of strength to make its way back to 187, especially to make a new all-time high. 187.26 broke through. Palantir as well, trying to get back to 182. So Palantir, Nvidia, and Hood, both of them just having a great day, along with Coreweave and Nebius. AppLovin starting to go a little green, Circle going a little green. But you got Nvidia right there, again, trying to get 187, and then BMNR set 51. Dude, are you guys going to spell strength like this for the rest of my life? Like, is this just what it's going to be like? There's no G in it, or there's a G in it, but it's silent. Like, I don't know how else more to explain it. Strength. Like, cannot believe, dude, this whole strength thing was the same thing like the fettuccine moment that I had a couple months ago. It's like, it's fettuccine. I think it was a word of the day. I was like, oh, it's fettuccine. Oh no, the word of the day was a different type of pasta, but then I compared it to fettuccine, and you were like, it's not fettuccine. I'm like, what the hell is it? It's like fettuccine. I'm like, I refuse to believe that. Same thing with strength. I refuse to believe you have to actually pronounce the freaking G. Or mortgage, right? Like all these revelations I'm having at 27 years old, about to be 28, about how to say these common words. You know, it's a new thing for me. Since 1990, we've had 12 months post-government shutdowns. 85% of the time, there was a 12 to 50% gain on the S&P per grok by the dip. Yeah. And we showed that data this morning from Bank of America. It's usually a buy the dip. I mean, it's not something to be that upset about. And dude, again, like we were talking about this yesterday, we have not had the August or September dip that people have been waiting for, down 3-4%. So if it happens in October, I think you've got plenty of money on the sidelines and plenty of money that are like, hey, finally, I can get into some of these names. And, you know, it might not easily happen. Mate, you took Tylenol when you were younger. Look, bro. Maybe my mom did take Tylenol when I was younger. And maybe something did happen, but there's American English, British English, and then there's a mid-English. Exactly. Exactly. That's what you got. Nvidia, are we still moving? 187.35. She keeps breaking it. She keeps breaking it. 187.35. She keeps breaking it. And now you guys say Tylenol wrong. Like, it's just, you cannot win with the grammar police here. You cannot, or the pronunciation police. You cannot freaking win. Is Trump live yet? Let's see. It's not live yet. Probably in about 15 minutes, 11:30. But he's not officially live yet. Nvidia just went down below 187, but it did hit 187.35. He also says exactly. I've got my own language, I guess, bro. I've got my own freaking language. Say length. Length. It's freaking length. How to say length.
Length.
We did this before already, dude. Again, Google is propaganda. It's a psyop. Like, it's not real. I don't know why they're pronouncing the G's, but it's length. It is length. Say water. Okay, there's no way I'm saying water wrong, right? Like, we're not getting that far. We're not going that far. Here's Morgan Stanley on what he thinks about the potential government shutdown. Morgan Stanley saying our house views to buy the dip. Nvidia giving away 187.35, back down to 186. S&P still flat on the day. I mean, down, not down that much, but it still is down. So overall, it's been a relatively flat day outside of Nvidia, Hood, and Palantir. Hood just busted through that 142. It happened literally in like a couple of minutes. And then Nvidia trying to settle in around 186. Which, if we ended the day at 139 and 186 on Hood and Nvidia, Palantir 180, I wouldn't be that upset about that. Talk about BM&R, dude. I was talking about this last night with Tanner. I I don't know why people are this obsessed with BM&R, but it is universal in my chat, in Tanner's chat, in Roy's chat, in Chris's Patreon. Everyone cares about BM&R. And I don't know if it's the Tom Lee effect or something, but like yesterday after hours, it was up 0.5%, and there was like 50 comments saying, oh, it's running. And then I go to it, it goes from 53 to 53.50. I'm like, what do we mean it's running? It's not, it is barely jogging, and people are going crazy on it. Like, I didn't know it was this big of a deal to everybody. Like, I'm in it. I like it. I think the thesis makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's just a leverage play on Ethereum. Like, it's not like the next Nvidia or anything. It's not that serious. But the amount of social media attention on it is very aggressive. I think it has to be because of Tom Lee, right? Like, there's no way it's because everyone just loves Ethereum. I mean, like, most people barely knew what Ethereum was, including myself until a couple months ago, right? I'm in that same bucket. It's got to be a Tom Lee effect here. So I think maybe this is the thing. I'm not, look, my thoughts on it are, again, I've been saying this over and over. I'm not trying to be super optimistic. Like, at the end of the day, Ethereum has to make a big move for BM&R to make a big move. Remember, BM&R will constantly dilute every time they have an MNAV that's necessary, or that's strong enough for them to create a good amount of shareholder value by buying more Ethereum. Now, that dilution is accretive, and we've talked about why it's accretive, but it is still issuing more shares on the market, which will naturally be a hedge against the stock mooning up. I've been seeing price targets of 500 by end of year, and I'm like, what? What are people like? Either I'm way off on my analysis. Tanner, by the way, I think is coming out with a video on BM&R soon, which is also going to go through some of the numbers. But unless Ethereum is closer to, like, I don't know, 15, 20,000, I don't know where people are getting these price targets from. And like, Ethereum's already made a pretty big move. Like, I think it can get to 6,000 by end of year, but for it to get to 10,000, 12,000 end of year, I don't know if I see that easily happening. I really don't. So I think people are just assuming Bitmine's just going to keep going up without understanding why. And I think people are getting a little too excited. I'm going to be honest. I think people are getting way too excited for this. Like, it is a great leverage play, but Ethereum needs to have a Bitcoin type of move from 2022, which is at least like a 10x, for this thing to really reward shareholders like Michael Saylor did, up 25, 30x. Until then, it's just like, it's just going to be a volatile stock. And you can't get too excited when it goes up 7%. Can't get too excited. Like, it was at 46 3 days ago. It was at 65 5 days ago before that, or 63.90 or something like that. So I don't know. I'm excited for it, but I'm not like over the moon excited about this. I think it'll do well, but it's going to take time. Yeah, but it's not crazy overvalued. No, I'm not saying it's overvalued at all. I think the MNAV is very appropriate for BM&R. Like, I don't think there's some, massive premium it's trading at that it's going to cause to compress. I'm just saying it's already trading at a 1.4 MNAV, 1.36 right now. For this thing to really go to a 2 MNAV, 2.5 MNAV, like when Strategy did, when it was like at its peak, you need a really big move on the underlying asset. And the underlying asset has been flat for the past month. Like, why are people excited about it? It's not moving. Ethereum's been stuck at 4,100. Now, long term, and this is what I think Tanner and I have done a pretty good job individually talking about, the stablecoin, tokenization, all that stuff is super bullish long term. But in the short term, Ethereum's not at 5,000. It's not like it was at 3,800 on Saturday. So the idea that Bitmine's going to make some massive move, it's like, no, it's not. It's just not. And if it is, it's going to come back to reality pretty soon, because unless Ethereum moves, it can't move with it. I mean, we literally saw that happen last week. Bitmine was at 63 and Ethereum, I think, maybe was at 4,300. And 4,300 is not enough to get Bitmine to 63. I mean, you got to get closer to 47, 4,800. So as Ethereum came down, guess what? Bitmine came down. For traders, it's like, it's amazing, because if you know how to kind of play the volatility of it up or down, even if you're selling options on it, there's a lot of money to be made. But for long-term holders, it's just a roller coaster of emotions, which I think you got to get the emotions out of it and just be like, hey, I believe in Ethereum long-term. I trust Tom Lee to buy more Ethereum than I can buy, faster than I can buy. Therefore, I'm long. And that's it. But I do think people are getting way too aggressive on their price targets. Unless Ethereum really does move. The website I was looking at was BM&R Rocks, bmnr.rocks. That is the website. And That is the one. That's the best one I've seen for tracking some of these MNFs. Why do you hate VM&R so much? Dude, I have a decent amount of shares. You guys know I have 6,000 shares. Like, I have shares in this thing. I just also don't, I'm trying to be reasonable. I don't want to be super, like, just pie in the sky optimistic. Oh, it's going to go to the moon. It's like, no, this is still an operating treasury company that needs an underlying asset to move. And some of these price targets, like, there's people saying $1,000 by end of year. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, either they're trying to pump it to, like, build a brand and, like, get people to follow them to be the BM&R guy, or they're, like, selling a course or some shit. Like, it's like unreasonable types of pumping I'm seeing on Twitter. And I think it's creating people to then get super excited if it goes up 0.5% after hours. And it's like, dude, that's not normal to be that excited for a 0.5% move. It's just not. So I'm bullish, but I think it'll take some time to play out. So here's an update on Coreweave and Meta. We've got some analysis here. Coreweave's still up about 15% on the day. Again, continuing to be bullish on this simple argument. Nvidia right there now giving up a decent chunk of some of those gains, still up about 2%, trying to hold 186. But again, the Coreweave deal being seen by the suits as just more evidence that demand outstrips supply. Coreweave just below 140. Nebius, are we still holding 114? Nebius, 115.98. Nebius doing a great job today holding these elevated levels. But again, the analysis is demand is not slowing down. Small Walt, thanks for the super chat. Would you buy BM&R over AMD at these current levels? I think both of them are vastly different investments. AMD, the only fear I have is that Q3 data center revenue doesn't ramp up, because Q2 data center revenue was very disappointing, quite frankly, at 14%. So if you think ETH ramps up in terms of price action before AMD's data center growth, then yeah, I think Bitmine's the better buy. If you think ETH is stagnating over the next coming weeks, especially into Q3 earnings, and AMD shows some pretty damn good numbers, which I am confident it's going to accelerate. I don't know how good it's going to be. It's probably not going to be like 50% like Nvidia, but if it gets to at least 20%, I think that's a tailwind for AMD. Then probably AMD becomes the better buy. But it really depends on what you think for Ethereum. Jason says, would you do anything now with an Nvidia 190 covered call for March 26? All right, so you're in 190, which is kind of close. March is kind of far away. That's usually the worst situation, honestly, to be in, when your strike is approaching the stock price, but your expiration is farther away. It's a little tricky because, look, for Nvidia, every dollar for Nvidia to go up is $25 billion in market cap. So that's why it's a big deal when Nvidia goes up a couple bucks. Like, it's a lot of market cap being added to the company. So even breaking 190 is not the easiest. But if I had a gun to my head, I think we break 190 by the end of the year. So I probably would roll those covered calls up and out, try to get to like 220-ish, which is going to be a little tougher once we break 200 psychologically, getting above that 200 level. But yeah, I probably would end up rolling. But if you just wrote them, maybe you can close them out for cheap for a very small loss and just, hold on to the shares or write maybe shorter dated calls. Now, you might have been rolling this call for a while, which is why you're kind of stuck in it. You might just have to end up rolling it again back into the 200s. Superbox, thank you for the $20 super chat. Can you speak about Orbs and their iris proof of human verification? Also, Dan Ives is on the board. Yeah, so we interviewed Dan Ives. I posted it on my channel in the video, so you can take a look. He talked about it. I am not fully convinced that Orbs is going to be like the de facto proof of human treasury company, or WorldCoin will be the coin that actually accelerates the momentum for proof of human, and then as a result, Orbs will be the company that benefits from that treasury of WorldCoin. I think the thesis makes sense. I'm not convinced that it's a problem that matters massively in society, proof of human. And I'm also not convinced that WorldCoin is the asset that people are going to be developing on when it comes to these biometric scans. Now, Ethereum's a little bit different because I think a lot of developers are building on Ethereum. There's a lot of proof about that. And I know that Ethereum and WorldCoin have a lot of intersections that make sense. I'd rather just buy Bitmine over Orbs. So I'm probably never buying Orbs. I mean, it's just not that exciting to me. I love Dan Ives. I think he's awesome, but I don't fully see the vision for this. And quite frankly, we have exposure. I mean, Bitmine has a $200 million stake in the company. That's up 10x. So Bitmine already gives you the exposure you need for Orbs. So that's what we got there. Okay, is Trump live? I don't think he's live yet. Again, he will be announcing Trump RX. We're going to see what happens there. It's looking like soon. Some of these countdowns have about 7 minutes, so we should see him, I think, in less than 10 minutes, but they might end up taking some time. I don't see the vision for it. See, that was a unintended pun that we had to slip in there. Amit, so the majority of what I know watching your analysis is basically covered calls is you as an investor betting that the price will reach what you bet at that specific time. Once it reaches, what's next? So covered calls is more so, hey, I think PayPal is not going to reach 75 by next month. Someone thinks it will. Someone's going to buy a call. I can cover my call that I'm selling to that person that is buying the call with 100 shares, which means I need to have 100 shares owned of the stock, because a call is essentially the right to own 100 shares or the right to buy 100 shares. And if you're selling a covered call, you're basically saying, hey, I'm putting up my shares for adoption, and I'm betting that on this term of a contract, in this case, an options contract, PayPal, in this example, won't reach the strike price, which is 75 by the end of the month. If it does reach 75, I have to sell my shares at 75, and I keep the profit of selling those shares and the premium I get from the call buyer. If it doesn't get there, AKA I'm playing the volatility of the arbitrage inside of the spread between, at this point, 67 and 75 on PayPal, then I've essentially loaned my shares, and then I got to get my shares back, and I didn't get called on them. It's kind of like insurance, right? Like an insurance company, you pay a premium, and if you don't crash your car, the insurance company doesn't have to pay you anything for crashing your car or deal with any of the issues of getting into a issue with your car, and they just keep the premiums. That's essentially how I would think of it. The problem is, in a super big bull market like we're in right now, covered calls get called away because people are buying those calls that you're selling. And so you have to be kind of careful of what price you ultimately want to be okay with selling these calls. Which is, it happened to Palantir last year. A lot of people got screwed on those covered calls, and with Hood and Nvidia, you're kind of seeing a little bit of that right now. Now, granted, it's not always the worst thing, because if you think Hood is getting super overvalued here, you might be okay selling some shares. Or you might be okay rolling your covered call, which is closing the current contract, opening a new contract, and keeping the same strike and just saying, hey, I think Hood will be below 140 in the next couple months, and I'm okay with, if I have to sell my shares at 140 again in December, then I'll sell them at 140. So in that way, they act as a hedge. But if Hood's going to 180, if Nvidia is going to 220, then there's a lot of opportunity costs that you miss out on as the shares go higher. So I guess that's one way to kind of navigate it. Did I say 6.7 again? Of course I did. Of course I did. SoFi, 25.79 was the low. Where are we at on SoFi? 26.25. All right. If you got the dip at around 25.80, then seems like you got the lows of the day. Yeah, shares get away with covered calls, not the calls themselves. Your shares are what's covering the call, and those would get called away if the shares go above the strike price that you have. Snyder, thank you for the $20 super chat. Hood leaps once again leaping. Greetings from South America. Snyder has 160 leaps on Hood. He showed me those at the Hood Summit. And even at that moment, I was like, bro, 160. I mean, like, I'm happy you're up on them, but 160 is pretty aggressive. I think he has June 2026. I mean, who knows, bro? Maybe those get in the money, which is kind of crazy. So congrats to you, man. That's incredible. And obviously those leaps have to be printing really well, which is not too bad. K. Roger, thank you for the $50 super chat. Nebius interviews of the CRO and CBO are literal gold mines. I haven't watched any Nebius interviews yet of the C-suite. I've seen a couple of clips, but I've not watched a full interview. So that's definitely something that is something I need to do to get a better understanding of a lot of these data center companies and the CEOs that are running them. But Roman's pretty cool. Roman, he engages on Twitter. He's heavily involved, and he's one of those guys that I think is good to have if you're really building a data center company in this day and age. You need to have someone who can explain the thesis around those data centers. Okay, let's see what else we've got. When are you interviewing the Galaxy CEO? I think on October 3rd. When is that? That's on Friday. That's Friday, October 3rd, yeah. October 3rd, he'll be on the channel. And we'll talk to him then. I am not a Nebius. This one I absolutely missed. And if Nate was in the chat, he would be spamming it because he's been telling me to buy this thing since $20. I just missed it, bro. I wasn't that interested in these auxiliary data center plays. Like I didn't really. I was more focused on Nvidia, and dude, Nebius is 5x in a year. Like, and this is the reason I missed it, and it is what it is. But I'm so happy because this was a fully baked retail stock. Like retail found, there was like 2 analysts on the street before they got the Microsoft deal. So this was a real hardcore gem that retail found. And as someone who really cares about retail continuing to be successful, it was nice to see them get this win. I just wasn't on this ride. I was not on this ride. But Nebius right here, 115, up 4.5%. We did have Sam give us the thesis, though. It's not like we didn't talk about it on the channel. When it was at 30, Sam came on the show for an hour and he explained it. So for anyone who kind of listened to Sam and dug deeper into his analysis, that could have done very well. Oh, yeah, Couch, good friend of the channel. Couch got into Nebius early. I think he did a ton of videos about them. So, you do have a ton of retail people. There's a guy on Twitter, Manuela. I think you guys know him. A lot of you guys should know him, right? MVC Investing. He's, I think, like the Nebius guy, if there has to be a Nebius guy. I would say he's like the main dude who's been talking. I think he even interviewed Roman at one point. So, yeah, you do have some retail bulls that were excited about it. Okay, I don't know when Trump's going live. It says it should be any minute now. It is not yet ready. He's going to be announcing Trump RX. And we're going to see what this announcement ends up looking like. Nvidia giving back a decent chunk of its gains. It looks like it's about to fall back below 186. Oh, the Fubo vote's happening today, right? That's a big one. Fubo, that's down 4%. So that'll be important on the merger vote. So I guess we're going to see. I guess we're going to see what happens there. By the way, Devin Ryan, friend of our friend of the show, who's been early hood, he issued a report today on Circle. I got his note today. He's initiating coverage. Does he have a price target? Let me see. He is an analyst that I do respect, so I'm curious what he thinks about it. Price target, does he have one? No, doesn't have a price target. Okay, so they're bullish, but no price target. He says, we believe Circle offers a compelling long-term opportunity tied to stablecoins and tokenized finance. We believe the current share price reflects our base case. However, we note that given the early stablecoin industry and its growth curve, we estimate a wide range of outcomes with hypothetical scenarios that could still deliver compelling upside. So there you go. You got Devin Ryan starting to get a bit more bullish on Circle. Circle has been it's been a great IPO, but I mean, dude, this thing was at almost 300. Took a nasty dip down to 133. So if you bought in the high 200s, you're definitely upset. But if you got in at IPO, you're still up almost 4x. YieldMax has a new Circle ETF. What's the ticker? Oh boy. YieldMax is not slowing down with these new derivative products. By the way, fear and greed, we are totally, dude, Nvidia's hitting all-time highs. Robinhood's at 140 and fear and greed is at neutral. That is wild. Talk about a weird end of the month. S&P flat, Bitcoin down, Ethereum down, Nvidia hood, Palantir up. Government shutdown seems relatively likely with a strong chance. And Q4 starts tomorrow. It's quite, I mean, this is actually pretty bullish for us to be in neutral, because if we're at neutral only, I mean, if Nvidia all-time highs is a neutral rating, maybe Nvidia 190 is not extreme greed. Yeah, Nvidia giving back a lot of those gains back down to 185.80. I mean, still bullish. This thing could not break 185 for 3 months. So it's very nice to see it finally breaking above, but down from 187. Heat map, what's going on there? Let's also look at the stock draft and see what's happening. Heat map is pretty green except for tech. Dude, Nvidia is the only Mac 7 that's green. Apple's down, Amazon's down, Tesla's down, Google's down, Meta's down, Disney, Netflix are down. Broadcom's down. Why is Nvidia the only green name today? It can't just be because of the upgrade from KeyBank. It can't just be because of Coreweave. I mean, and if it is, then those are two reasons that are just not that, I don't know. I don't think they're market moving reasons for Nvidia, but I guess they are today. Nike's red before earnings. Yeah, after the bell, we'll have Nike today. We'll see what happens there. And let's pull up the stock draft. What do you think about Uber? You know, I'm not that bearish on Uber. There was a couple price targets I saw today on Uber at around 130. Look, at the end of the day, I think the robotaxi bullish thesis on Tesla makes sense, but it's not like Uber's slowing down. You know, and I don't think Tesla kills Uber anytime soon. Maybe one day in the future, you know, Uber really has to find a different way to compete because the robotaxis are too aggressive. But it's not happening soon. And so I don't think Uber is a bad buy at all at these levels. I mean, their free cash flow is crazy. They just initiated a $20 billion buyback. Now, are there some long-term existential threats to their business? Yeah, and they've got to figure that out. But I think they have time. So I'm not buying Uber, but I don't think Uber at these levels is like horrendous. You know, if you got it at 60, 50, it's obviously done a lot better. All right, stock draft. Matt's up 24. We are up 33. So Hoodie and Nebius, both of those are really helping us pull away into first place. Steve's up 4. Tanner's up 21. Trade Desk coming back a little bit. If Tanner didn't have Trade Desk, he would probably be gunning for first place as well. And then Chris is up 7.8. Chris is up 7.8. So that's not too bad. That's what we got on the stock draft. Tanner or SoFi. I was going to say SoFi. I said Tanner when I was thinking of SoFi. SoFi, are we still at 26? We're just above 26.11. Uber is the ride-sharing network. Why do they care if it's a human driver, Tesla, Waymo, et cetera? Plus they have Uber Eats. Yeah. And I mean, look, the bear case on Uber is that their network is commoditized because people just don't use their network, AKA people don't go to the Uber app. They go to the robotaxi app to call a robotaxi, which, look, I think that's a real threat and that could happen. The problem is it is so far away realistically. I mean, you know, Tesla's in Austin and they're trying to get to Nevada and Chicago and stuff and the Bay Area, but they're not there yet. And even if they get there, it's going to take time. And people who need to get to an airport, they need to get to the airport today and they're probably going to call an Uber or Lyft. So I think Uber has time to kind of figure out how to navigate all this. So there we go. All right. Trump is still, dude, it's almost freaking 12 p.m. and Trump is still not live. I don't know when they're going to do this announcement. Let me see if they changed the timings for it. If they changed it to like 2 o'clock, then we'll see it on the market close. Nope, still scheduled for 11 a.m. White House is live. You see the White House stream? Let me see if they have a couple streams open. Oh boy, there's an active shooter at a joint base. What? Okay, hold on. Let's see what's going on here.
Campaign to do that, and given the to and fro of thousands of people coming every day, it becomes quite a challenge to do that.
All right, as we watch this, a joint base is on lockdown. The Department of Defense, meaning it is home to Army, Navy, and Air Force units under a single command. Mm-hmm. It is the only tri-service joint base in the DoD. So we're watching for this. We don't have any more detail than that, but we're going to take a quick commercial break and see what we can work on.
Dude, that's probably why Trump is late. He's probably getting briefed on an active shooter at a military base. I mean, that could easily delay any announcement that he was going to do. Usually he's like 15, 20 minutes late. He's almost an hour late. That's probably him getting briefed on this right now. Let me see if I can get a little bit more coverage on this.
We do know from, unfortunately, some more recent incidents where bases have been affected is that, there are civilians, there are active military, there are some retirees. It's a mixture of a number of different people. Mm-hmm. And, where someone can have a weapon, most likely, as we know from the last incident that occurred at a military base, soldiers, even though we arm them going into battle, they're not armed every day walking around the base. Military police are, and some other people with weapons are. So, the question is this a civilian incident involving perhaps a domestic issue? Is it a former military member who's come on the base, perhaps who had a weapon with him? We just don't know. And as you said, kind of the sprawling nature of the base and also the dynamics of people coming and going off the base is that there's no, at this point, active process to be able to screen people for weapons, either in the vehicle or on themselves, unless you go through a much more rigorous campaign to do that. And
all right, so I don't know if that is the reason why Trump is late, but based on how severe, and we have limited details on this, based on how severe this active shooter situation is, I mean, that definitely could be a reason why they might not be starting on time, and they might be trying to monitor the situation. Now, we have a lot of bases across the country, definitely across the world. And I don't think we have an update on if anyone was actually shot at this shooting, but the official headline is Joint Base McGuire lockdown for active shooter. Yeah, there was a shooting at a church the other day. I mean, dude, it's been pretty aggressive. It's been kind of wild, especially after the Charlie Kirk incident. I mean, it's definitely not something you want to see, but it has started to ramp up over the past couple of weeks. And I think at this point, everyone just wants to bring the tensions down across the entire political spectrum. But I don't know. In this political environment, do we have the ability to bring the tensions down? Like, I don't know. Yeah, this one is in New Jersey. 186.30 on Nvidia. We do have Nike earnings today. What do we think? Let's do a quick Nike pump or dump poll. Last time we did buy 100 shares of Nike after earnings. I sold it for like $20. It ended up going to like 70, so we could have made like $1,000. But what do we think? Nike pump or dump? I don't know if we want to do an earnings bet on this, because last time we bought Nike was at 62 and it bumped to 74. This time it's at 69. So it's going to have to really show a sequential level of growth for the market to, take it up to 80. I don't know if the risk reward is that aggressive here. Now, the implied move on Nike is 8%. 8%. So if there is a move up or down, it might end up being 8%. Here's a little bit of coverage on Nike.
Couple years.
Saying Trump is live. I don't see him live on any of my streams. I don't know where you guys see him live. Where do you guys see him live? I don't see him live anywhere. White House, is he live on the White House stream? Oh, he is. All right, cool. The audio might kind of suck on this because the White House audio is bad, so I'll see if I can fix it. Oh, hold on. No, we got it on CNBC. Okay, so I'll get the actual stream. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, here we go.
It started.
But even all the negotiators here and all the people on HHS and at the White House team, all we could see was all going to do reasons that this couldn't happen. Everybody had tried. Nobody could make it happen. And it was President Trump alone who, with his doggedness, his persistence, he saw this clearly in a way that none of us other, in its most simplest terms. Why are we spending more on this country than any other country? Why are we spending 75% of the revenues that come to the pharmaceutical industry? We're doing all the research and everybody else is riding on our slipstream. And President Trump, I would say, harangued and harassed us to make this happen. I was getting calls at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Oh, are you asleep? And you got to get MFN done. And at one point, Dr. Oz told me I can't take the president's calls anymore. I have a lot of reasons. My wife has a lot of reasons to say to me about different things that happen in my life. Doesn't that give you anxiety? And I say, I don't get anxiety. This gave me anxiety. Oh, thank you, President Trump. It would not have happened without you. This is real leadership. is a president who has a vision and makes that vision happen. And I can't think of any other president of the United States who could have done this in our history. I'm very grateful to you. This is an extraordinary benefit. The American people, thank you for your vision, President Trump, your bold action, your unwavering commitment to health and well-being of the American people. Never has a president stood up so bravely for the American people with respect to healthcare. And by the way, I forgot to thank Albert Burla. Albert and I have had a long history of antipathy and antagonism toward each other. But I have to say his leadership in this took tremendous courage. And he really created a template for corporate responsibility, for putting public health ahead of his individual interests. So I'm very, very grateful to you for that, Albert. Under the leadership of President Trump, the U.S. government is now acting as a tough negotiator on behalf of the American people. Today is about fairness. It's about equality. It's about giving hope to those who are trying to stay healthy, who are managing illness, and who are fighting for their lives. We refuse to make the most vulnerable citizens continue to pay an unthinkable price for the world's pharmaceutical breakthroughs, which we pay for. This policy is a shield for the chronically ill who have carried the burden of high drug costs for far too long. It's a signal to every American family that we're finally putting their health and financial security first. And it sets a new standard, one that says we won't write blank checks to the drug industry any longer. No family should ever be forced to choose between filling a prescription and putting food on the table. Americans.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to end it out there. I think it's going to be a while before we get to any Trump questions about this. We got kind of the main headline out of the way. Pfizer right there, 2471. That's up 3.5%. Broader S&P, that is flat. Nvidia still holding on, trying to make another run to 187. Actually getting a little bit of a lift as we head into the 12 p.m. hour of the day. Palantir just below 180, and then Robinhood. If we can recover 140, that would be very bullish. I don't know if we do, but towards the end of the day, we're going to see. And if we do, that would be very, very strong for Robinhood. So there you go. That's what we got. I'm sorry for some of the technical difficulties this morning. Little weird stuff across the board. X was down. My StreamYard was being weird. I had some of the wrong settings on my mic, so we should be able to fix all that up going into the close. But it's the last day of September, and you're ending off so far with a bang. Nvidia all-time highs, Hood all-time highs. Rest of the market relatively flat, but those two names getting some momentum, and then Palantir trying to get back to 180. And hopefully we can end out even at these levels by the end of the day, because that would be a pretty strong September. And then we've got government shutdown stuff, which we'll talk more about in the close. Jason will be on. We'll do Technical Tuesday. Today we have Nike earnings as well, so we'll see what happens with Nike. And then we'll keep going from there. And that's what we should have for the day. Word of the day. What do we got? Okay, so originally I would say bonsai, but that would be too easy. The pronunciation, it's showing bonsai. So I'm going with bonsai. Karate Kid? What does this have to do with Karate Kid? I watched the Jaden Smith remake. I didn't watch the original Karate Kid. But bonsai, is that what we got?
Bonsai.
Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. A miniature tree or shrub grown in a container and shaped through pruning. Tom kept a small pine bonsai that he spent a decade shaping. The bonsai collection was displayed in the museum courtyard. Bonsai. Oh, I think I've seen these before. I've definitely seen this before. Decent amount of us probably have seen these before. All right, so that's what we got. Bonsai. No, I didn't watch the original Karate. I saw the 2010 remake. I didn't see who was in the original one. 1984. I don't think I've seen the original. Is it a crime to have not seen the original? I saw the remake. Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso, Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi. No, I don't know what they're talking about, dude. I saw the 2010 one with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. Seen that one. What do you expect from me, bro? I saw the remake. Like the remake, I actually went to the theaters and saw it in 2010. All right, I should leave because I already probably said too many words wrong. I'm already probably getting enough shit. That's how you didn't say his name, right? Mr. Miyagi? Miyagi? That's how you all right, whatever. Whatever, dude. Steve will probably hear about this some way or somehow. And he'll give me shit in some way. All right, I'm out. I'll be back on the market close. We'll see what goes on from there. Nvidia, all-time highs. Hoodie, all-time highs. And now we just got to see if the S&P can end up green for the rest of the day. What? Ralph Macchio. How do you say his name? Oh, Ralph. Oh, wait. Ralph Macchio? Dude, Google's actually legit. It has pronunciations for everything. This is kind of crazy.
Ralph Macchio.
Oh. Dude, there's a C and an H. Like C and H is cha, not ka. I just don't think a lot of these parts of the English language make sense, dude. And again, I'm not trolling. You guys can believe I'm trolling. I am not. This is not rage baiting, like legit. I see a C and a H. I think cha. Oh, macchiato. That's a good point. That's actually good. That's a great point. I don't say macchiato. That's a good. I've bought a macchiato before, and that has a C and the H as well. Okay. Anyway, this is enough. I'm gonna get enough shit from this anyway. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll be back on the market close. Steve, by the way, his channel is almost at 3,000 subs. So he was talking to me last night. He's pretty surprised that many people care about him wanting to make content. But I think it'll be fun. And so he'll do his first live stream on Saturday. And we'll get to see Steve officially start his YouTube channel. So there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back for Nike earnings, Technical Tuesday, and we'll see how September ends out on the S&P today as we get to the close. Wow. Right as we're getting to the close, Nvidia going for 187 again. Not bad. A lot of strength today on Nvidia. And hopefully that continues towards the end of the day. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye. I will see you guys in a few hours. Bye, everyone.